Hello and welcome to Bosco Football on Spreaker.com's own national sports. And another warm welcome to all as we are officially in the high school football playoffs as the St. John Bosco Braves host the Agoura Chargers from Frank Rabata Field. This game is delivered by Tam's Pizzeria in Bellflower, California.
Kane is in the building.
The clock to 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1. Jason Negro gets the Gatorade on him as the St. John Bosco Braves, for the second consecutive season, are headed to the playoffs.
Well, you hear that, Bellflower? Your Braves are in the postseason.
Led by a 10-0 undefeated mark for the first time in their history, the Bosco Braves are playoff bound.
We walk the same path, but got on different shoes. Live in the same building, but we got different views. I got a couple cars I never get to use. Don't like my women single, I like my chicks in twos.
Those CIF Pac-5 divisional playoffs begin tonight as the Bosco Braves and the Agoura Chargers play in Frank Rabata Field. The road to the state championship rides through St. John Bosco.
Live from Bellflower, California, we're just about set to kick it off between Agoura High School and St. John Bosco in the first game of the Pac-5 divisional playoffs presented by the CIF Southern Section. My name's Chris Sylvester alongside Adam Ferrister and Nick Rice. Agoura won the toss and elected to defer, and they kicked it back into the end zone. So Josh Rosen and the St. John Bosco offense will start at their own 20. Adam, what does Bosco on the offensive side of the ball have to do to get off to a quick start here tonight?
They have to get a good push from the offensive line, and that'll help with the run game, and the receivers have to run crisp routes so they can get open.
Bosco comes out in a 3-receiver pistol set. It's going to be Sean McGrew with the opening handoff, and he'll cut up the middle for a gain of 2 that time. Something that has been heavily looked upon so far this week is the fact that St. John Bosco's offensive line outweighs all of Agoura's D-line by almost 100 pounds, so it'll be interesting to see what the battle up front is like here tonight. Rosen's going to pass a screen pass to Wadud, and he's going to drop the football. Incomplete, a rare drop that time from the Cal commit, and 3rd down and 8 upcoming for the Braves, 11:32 to go first quarter. How huge would it be for the Chargers to get a 3-and-out here? I mean, you come into the house of the number 1 team in the state of California. You're not supposed to even be competitive in this game, but it'd certainly be a huge boost for the Chargers sideline if they can get a stop. Rosen drops back to pass. He's going deep to Shea Fields. Shea Fields is wide open and he catches it. Shea Fields has one man to beat. He's down the sidelines. Touchdown Braves! 78 yards from Rosen to Fields. And the number 1 team in the state of California strikes first. It's 6-0.
That's what we were talking about in the pregame. That's just a Chris Browdy burnt him off of faking inside and was just able to use his speed to get open and score that touchdown. That was just a case of Shea Fields being extremely faster than the cornerback.
Boy, for a second there, it looked like Bosco might have a little bit of trouble on offense against this Charger defense, but Rosen, for the first time in a couple weeks, showcasing his arm strength, going deep to the USC commit Shea Fields, 78 yards to the house. Reed Butchevich's extra point is up and good. And with 11:23 left to go here in the first quarter from Bellflower, it's 7-0. St. John Bosco leads. When we get back, they will be kicking off, and we'll see Agoura on offense for the first time here tonight.
Catch every high school game this season with the High School Scoreboard app along with @StJohnBosco on Twitter as well. Now back to Bosco football with Chris Sylvester and Nick Rice.
Back here at St. John Bosco High School, 7-0. The Braves leading the Chargers of Agoura High School. 11:23 left to go first quarter. Josh Rosen finding his standout wide receiver Shea Fields for 78 yards down the sidelines on just the 3rd offensive play from the line of scrimmage for St. John Bosco. If you're Agoura, you're coming in here fired up. That certainly takes the wind out of your sail there if you're the Chargers.
Well, I haven't seen as big of a mismatch ever since David faced Goliath. This is a huge uphill battle for a Charger team that barely squeaked into the playoffs with a 6-4 mark. Boy, Kevin Adams, the leader in not only receptions for this ball club, but interceptions also on the defensive side. Burned by a mile on that play. Shea Fields had nothing but open green grass. He burned him by 5 yards there. Shea Fields, boy, it can't get a whole lot easier than that. We haven't seen that big of a blown coverage since the non-league play before the Trinity League began for these Braves.
Reed Butrovic's kick will sail back into the end zone for a touchback, and Agoura's offense will start at the 20-yard line. When you look at Agoura's offense, the first thing that sticks out to you is their 5'11 running back, Sean Barr. He leads the Pac-5, the entire Pac-5 in rushing yards. He rushed for 1,811 yards this year, 20 touchdowns. How special is this kid?
Well, he's touched the ball almost 300 times for this Charger team, as he is the face of this Agoura offense. He's shifty, can make moves in space, and we'll see how he does here against the Braves.
The opening play is going to be a quick pass from the quarterback, Jack Barmis, and it's going to go for a 9-yard gain. That time, Kevin Adams, the 5'8 receiver, pulling it in, and sure enough, they're going to give him the ball spot. It's going to be a first down on the first play of the game for the Chargers. The Chargers run a very similar offense to St. John Bosco's, a hurry-up, spread type of offense. Haven't really seen this too much from different teams so far this season. The handoff's going to go to Barr, and he's going to be met at the line of scrimmage. Great job closing in that time by the Bosco defensive line. Loss of 1 on the play for Barr, and it'll bring up a 2nd and 11. Nick, you have the starting lineup for the Agoura Charger offense.
The Chargers offense presented by Tam's Pizzeria, as they definitely deliver it all. Your line consists of Iberg, Rubin, Lawrence, Webb, and Duff. Tight end is Max Sealing. Jack Barmas has him back under center with Sean Barr, the running back. Then Horton, Adams, and Goldberg are your receivers for today's contest. This offense, one of the tops in the Trinity, not only the Trinity League, but as well in that Pac-5 division. The question is the defense that gave up a huge touchdown. We'll see if the offense for Agoura can match stride for stride with this Bosco team. Haven't seen it yet, but this is still a nice drive that started from their own 20, Chris. They look pretty impressive against that Bosco defense.
Agoura has the ball now at their own 39. It's a 3rd and inches after the completion to Matthew Goldberg. The run's going to go to Sean Barr, and Barr cutting up for a first down for Agoura to the 48-yard line. So the first couple of plays, pretty impressive here from the Chargers. I know we've been watching a lot of film on them this week. Jack Barmis reminds you of Drew Brees?
He's a very accurate quarterback that can zip it down the field, and in my mind, I think he's a better quarterback than the guy on the other side, Josh Rosen.
It's going to be a play action, and it's going to be complete all the way down to the St. John Bosco 32-yard line. Kevin Adams comes up with his 2nd reception of the game, and Barmes threw a strike that time while being flushed out to the left. Very impressive throw from the junior quarterback. He's only 6'1", 165, but he certainly has an arm on him. Quickly moving as that Charger offense is going to be the run with Barr. Barr cuts up the middle, but he has nowhere to go, met by a plethora of Braves. Loss on the play, and it'll be 2nd and 11, but we haven't seen an offense move this quickly on Bosco's defense since that Orange Lutheran game.
Well, you got to have the quarterback to do it, and Barmas, he's such an efficient quarterback. I mean, we're talking about a guy that hasn't thrown an interception in the last month, and we're looking at the other side, Rosen, 4 INTs in the last 2 weeks. If I had to choose anybody right now in the Pac-5, it might be Barmas.
Barmas comes out of the gun. It's going to be a screen pass out to Kevin Adams. Adams tries to break a tackle, but he is unable to escape. Christian Holland, who comes up on the tackle, just a gain of 1 that time. C-Splash, great job closing out and getting Kevin Adams, and it'll be a 3rd and 10 for Agoura.
Yeah, just a great job by Christian Holland there, tracking down the receiver. He did have an outside running lane, but Christian was able to track him down for no gain.
3rd and 10 here. Agoura has the ball at the St. John Bosco 33, 7-0 Braves, 8:22 left to go here in the first quarter. First round of the CIF Pac-5 playoffs, and it appears that Agoura will take their first charged time out of the half. So After the timeout, it'll be 3rd and 10 once again for the Chargers at the St. John Bosco 33. Been moving pretty well on this drive against a very talented St. John Bosco defense.
Yeah, defense that is led by that secondary, all 4 of them with Division I, entertaining those offers there for scholarships as well. We're talking about Brett Baldwin and Jaleel Wadood, 2 of the top safeties, not only in the Trinity League, but in the state as a whole. These secondary players are an interception machine. We also talk about Chandler Hawkins and Nigel Hale, who just made that last play. Linebackers, Chandler Lanou, who leads the entire Trinity League and tackles over 100 on the season. Christian Holland and Jason Lucero wrap up that linebacker core. Then for your Bosco defensive line, Malik Dorton, Emery Sefo, Ivan Martinez, and Jacob Tuati Mariner, if I have that right, has been the anchor of a defensive front that has given fits to a lot of running backs, and we may see the same thing with Sean Barr. He's had a little bit of success inside, but if this line gets what they want, this will be a long day for Barr.
3rd and 10, fresh out the timeout. It's going to be a complete pass to Kevin Adams, and I believe he got the first down for Agoura. They are moving the chains, and it's a 1st and 10 for the Chargers. A key 3rd down conversion that time from Barmasse to Kevin Adams. Adams' 3rd reception of this drive.
Well, the Chargers are certainly showing resiliency on their first drive. They haven't made the playoffs in the last 7 years under Coach Charlie Wager, and they are showing their resilience here on this play. It looks like there's a delay in calling their next snap, but outside of referees blowing the whistle, that's been the only way that this offense has been stopped so far on their first drive. On a drive that started from their own 20-yard line, Kevin Adams, who leads this team with over 700 yards receiving in the regular season, showing exactly how he can beat this starting defensive secondary for the Braves.
The Chargers have a 1st and 10 at the St. John Bosco 22. It's going to be the run with Sean Barr, and he cuts up to the St. John Bosco 19 for a gain of 3.
We mentioned Kevin Adams as well being a vital portion of this offense. He had the mentality. A lot of guys that are immature and barely making the playoffs would certainly have a different mindset than Kevin Adams, who says, quote, nothing to lose this week in the Orange County Times, as this team sees Bosco Braves as an opportunity. A very nice young man.
2nd and 7, it's going to be a quick pass out to the tight end, Max Sealing, and Sealing is close to another 1st down for the Agoura Chargers. That time he got to the 15-yard line, a gain of 4, and it'll be 3rd and about 2.5 here for Agoura. Agoura hasn't had any trouble whatsoever moving it through the air, and you'd think they would against such a good defense, but boy, Jack Barmace is just such a fantastic quarterback this year. Threw for 1,811 yards and 20 touchdowns. Great numbers from the junior QB. Agoura certainly has something to look forward to. The snap is fumbled, and Barmasse is going to be sacked in the backfield, leading the charge for St. John Bosco, Chandler Lanou. That'll back up the football all the way to the St. John Bosco 20-yard line, and an interesting 4th down upcoming here for Coach Wager. Do you go for it here, or do you put the game in the hands of your kicker to try to get you some points?
It's too far for a field goal try, and to being such big underdogs against the Braves. Looks like they're going to go for it, and yes, they are. I agree with the call.
Out of the gun comes Barmace. He's going to be flushed out on the run. Tries to find something, and he's just going to take the hit and be taken down at the 28-yard line. So the Chargers drive all the way down to the St. John Bosco 22, but they turn it over on downs, give the ball back to the Braves. A fantastic stop early for one of the best defenses in the nation that St. John Bosco brings to the table.
Their defense, Bosco's defense, was getting off to a slow start, not really stopping the offense there, but it shows right there how good they are getting that penetration and sacking the quarterback on that crucial 4th down.
So Rosen and Shea Fields and the rest of the Bosco offense will start at their own 29-yard line. Rosen on the first play is going to go back to Shea Fields, and Shea Fields cuts loose. Shea Fields once again down the sidelines, got one man to beat. Oh my goodness! The USC commit is into the end zone. Touchdown Braves! His 2nd touchdown catch of the game already, And with 5:49 left to go in the first quarter, it's St. John Bosco 13-0.
Yo, oh my goodness, is absolutely right, Chris. Catches the football and makes the entire Agoura Charger defense look silly on that play. Boy, did you expect this sort of a start here for the Bosco Braves? Everyone was talking about how these Braves are such big favorites over the Chargers, but I did not expect the defense to not even lay a hand on one of the greatest receivers in the Trinity League, huh, Chris?
Shea Fields certainly something special. On the opening drive, a 78-yard reception from Josh Rosen. This time, a 71-yard reception. It doesn't get much easier than that.
Boy, he's delivering like Tam's Pizzeria there. He certainly has it all, as it's been 14-0. Boy, the Braves have only held the football for 2 minutes, but have 14 points to show for it. If the Chargers don't get something going on the offensive side, this may be a long night for Agoura. Boy, David against Goliath, and right now it's just looking ugly for this team as they are in the shop. They have just been shot there on the defensive side. Shea Fields, boy, that may have just been the dagger in the heart for the Wagers Ball Club.
Well, in talking to Chad Johnson this week, the game plan was air it out, something that they haven't really been able to do the last couple of weeks due to the inconsistent play of Josh Rosen, but he seems to be very crisp here tonight. 14-0, the Braves lead the Chargers, 5:49 left to go in the first quarter. Reed Budrovich getting set to kick it off here for St. John Bosco. His first kick went back into the end zone for a touchback. This one will be booted at the 40 from Budrovich, and it'll sail back into the end zone. So the quarterback for Agoura, Jack Barmasi, and the offense will take over once again at the 20. Of course, this is the first night of the Pac-5 divisional playoffs presented by the CIF Southern Section, so we're going to have multiple score updates for you here throughout the night. So far, it's 7-7 between Servite and Westlake down at Westlake Village. 7-6 Tesoro leading Long Beach Cabrillo. Of course, Bosco, assuming they win this game, plays the winner of Tesoro and Cabrillo. And Alemany leads Lakewood 15-10, and Poly up 6-0 on Orange Lutheran at Betts Memorial Stadium. We'll keep you updated with a lot of other scores around the Pac-5 divisional playoffs. On the first play from the line of scrimmage for Agoura, it's going to be Barmasi flushed out to the right, and he's going to be taken down for a loss of 5. Great job once again, St. John Bosco. Like we mentioned earlier, definitely has the edge as far as size goes with their defensive line compared to Agoura's offensive line. It showed on that play. It'll be a 2nd and 15 here for the Chargers from their own 15-yard line. 14-0 Bosco, first quarter here from Bellflower. It's going to be a dump-off pass, and it's going to be complete. Sean Barr came out of the backfield to catch that pass, and it'll be still a 3rd and about 10 here for the Chargers. Only a gain of 5 that time. They really got to get it going on this 3rd down.
Boy, and that offensive line certainly needs to hold up in pass protection. I don't know what they're putting in the school cafeteria there for the Agoura Chargers, but it certainly has nothing to the same meaty size that we see that Bosco defensive front. I mean, we're talking over a 50-pound difference by that entire offensive line. I don't like how my tackles are just giving up plays right up the middle on 2 sacks there in the first quarter.
Whistles blow, and it'll be a delay of game here on the Chargers. The Chargers, a quick-moving offense. Not too many times you'll see them get penalized for taking too much time in between snaps. This one's going to back it up 5 yards to the 14-yard line of the Chargers, and it'll be a 3rd and 15 upcoming here for Agoura, which makes it even tougher for the offense to convert.
Well, the Bosco Braves certainly are showing their experience. This is the 3rd straight year they have been in the playoffs. Chargers just want to get some first down or get some drives going here early in the first quarter.
Barmasi's going to be flushed out to the right. He's going to throw on the run, and the pass is going to be complete, and it'll be very close to a first down, tackled at around the 29-yard line. Was Kevin Adams. Adams' 5th reception of the game already, and we'll see where they mark it. And sure enough, the referees are going to give the spot to the Chargers. 1st and 10, a very key one at that.
Well, not only that, a very generous spot. It looked like he was at least a yard, maybe a yard and a half short. They're very generous here on that first drive, maybe having a little sympathy for a Chargers offense that hasn't looked all that great so far.
Barmassi comes out of the gun. It's that 3-receiver set that Agoura likes to run. Sean Barr, the Pac-5's leading rusher, is going to get the handoff here, and it's going to be a gain of just about 3 as he cuts up to the Agoura 33-yard line. So Barr, a guy that usually depends on his not-so-heavy offensive line, but hasn't fared so well tonight against this big defensive line that the Braves bring to the table. They're mixing it up a little bit. They got even Damian Mama playing at the nose tackle spot right now to just bring that heavier pressure that the line is not used to seeing, as this pass is going to be batted down at the line of scrimmage, incomplete. And a 3rd and 6 upcoming for Barmassi and the Charger offense.
Well, we mentioned Sean Barr being a dynamic player, leads the Pac-5. We actually had the over-under here, all of our announcers here in the pregame, at about 125 yards tonight. We expected him to be a huge part of this offense like he has all season long. And without any surprise so far, he's been a key for this offense, him and Kevin Adams in the receiving game.
Out of the gun comes Barmassi. He's going to be flushed out to his left, throws on the run, and he completes it. Catching it that time was Matthew Goldberg before he took a shot from the Arizona commit Nigel Hale, but it's enough for another Charger first down. So picking up first downs and moving the ball against this Braves defense hasn't really been a problem for Agoura here tonight, but it's more about them putting points up on the scoreboards, as it's already 14-0 Braves with 3:05 left to go here in the first quarter.
They've certainly had a pretty nice drive here. Barmassi has been the only key here for these Chargers. It looks like it's going to be another run. And Agoura, I do want to give them credit, too. They have been a very dynamic team in their own right so far in this division. They beat a couple of powerhouses early on in the season. They defeated, it was Oak Park and it was also Ventura, along with giving St. Bonaventure, who is a powerhouse in and of itself, all they can reckon for in a 49-40 loss just a few weeks ago. They're going to have to certainly get some offense going if they want to have a similar result here today.
2nd and 4 for the Chargers. It's a dump-off pass for Sean Barr, and Barr has room down the sidelines, cutting inside the 30 before he's pushed out at the 25. Gain of 27 on that play, and here's Agoura once again knocking on the door. Sean Barr shows why exactly he leads the Pac-5 in rushing.
Yeah, that very good, very nice screen pass and dump off right there. It's just misdirection to the right side, and he was able to get to the left in a pass where there was no defender.
Here are the Chargers at the Bosco 25. Second time they've been down here. Barmassi's going to keep it, and Barmassi has room up the middle before he's taken down at the 20. Gain of 5 that time. So not only is he an accurate passer, you compare him to Drew Brees, but he also can run the ball a little bit.
He's also one of the tallest guys so far this season in that Charger offense. But are you buying the fact that Sean Barr may gain over 125 yards? Is that realistic for you?
I don't know. The Bosco defensive line looks very tough to run against, especially with Agoura's small offensive line. It's going to be a play action here on 2nd and 5, and the pass is going to be complete to Sean Barr, and he's going to be marked down at the 18-yard line, so only a gain of 2 that time for Agoura, and a 3rd and 2 upcoming for the Charger offense.
You mentioned Barmassi being an equivalent of a guy like Drew Brees in the NFL. He's a little bit taller than Brees, but have we yet seen Barmassi throw an incomplete pass? Against this vaunted Bosco offense, he's completed passes to guys like Matthew Goldberg and Max Shields, guys that we barely even hear of in this offense.
It's going to be the run with Sean Barr. Barr, it was one tackle away from getting into the end zone, but sure enough, he picks up a first down at the St. John Bosco 9-yard line. Sean Barr cuts up the middle that time, and the Chargers have themselves a 1st and goal inside the St. John Bosco 10.
The morsel-sized running back making a big impact here on this drive. He's nearing the goal line, and he's also caught about 3 or 4 passes on this drive.
Out of the gun comes Barmassi. He's going to be flushed out. He's going to take it up the middle. Barmassi is going to be taken down all the way at the St. John Bosco 1. How about Jack Barmassi creating with his arm and now creating with his legs here in St. John Bosco territory? It's a 2nd and goal from the Bosco 1 for Agoura.
Looks like we're going to have a pause on the field. Barmasi on another drive in the red zone. That actually has been a struggle for an offense the last couple of weeks that has been just short of really taking the next step here. They got to score a touchdown. Field goals are not going to get it done.
Out of the gun comes Barmasi. He'll hand off, and getting eaten up at the line that time was Sean Barr. No gain on the play, and upcoming is a crucial third and goal for the Agoura Chargers, but that play will happen in the second quarter. First quarter is done here from St. John Bosco High School. The Braves 14, the Chargers nothing, but they're knocking on the door when we get back on the SJB Broadcast Network.
She's popping right out of the South Georgia water. Thought, oh, good Lord, she had them long tan legs.
Catch every high school game this season with the High School Scoreboard app along with @St. John Bosco on Twitter as well. Now back to Bosco football with Chris Sylvester and Nick Rice.
Back here in Bellflower, California at Father Frank Rabata Field, 14-0. The Braves lead here, about to start the second quarter. Agoura has themselves a third and goal at the St. John Bosco 3-yard line. We have some scores for you before we get the action back started on the field in the second quarter. Like we said, it's a big night as far as the Pac-5 playoffs go. It's Servite up 14-7 now at Westlake against the Westlake Warriors. Tesoro leads 14-6. St. Bonaventure leads Notre Dame 21-7, and Mission Viejo leads the Crespi Chargers 7-0. Crespi, that's a big debate. While Crespi made the playoffs over J. Serra. It's going to be a big third down here on the run. Throwing it is Barmasi, and he has a wide open man in the end zone. Touchdown Chargers! Jack Barmasi was flushed out to his left like he has been all night long and completes it to Sean Barr, the star running back for the score. And with 11:56 left to go here in the second quarter, we just might have ourselves a ball game.
If the offense keeps scoring points like this, we certainly will. The key for the Chargers is to put up points like they have all season long. They put up 40 a couple weeks ago against St. Bonaventure, a huge defensive powerhouse in their own right. It's only a touchdown deficit. We saw time and time again with Shea Fields burning this defense that they aren't going to win on that side of the football. They have a couple of studs in Sean Barr and a man that has been woefully undernoticed so far in this defensive lineup, Jeffrey Choi, a man that intercepted a couple passes and for the secondary leads that unit in tackles. A very impressive safety there as he's showing up a guy that we also know, love, dear to our own heart. Brett Baldwin and Julia Wadood, a couple of all-stars on our own side, Bosco Braves side. Outside of a couple of superstars there for the Chargers, it's a defense that is woefully undermatched. As if they can just contain, if they can keep everything in front of them, Chris, in the first half, you give it back to an offense that's so explosive. Kevin Adams, a man that can burn you down the field on any play, already a half dozen catches in, 12 minutes of action here from St. John Bosco. Sean Barr catches the touchdown there. He's also a vital part of this offense. If this team can just stop the big plays for St. John Bosco, they have a chance.
They certainly do. 14-7. Agoura gets on the scoreboard, and it's going to be an onside kick, and the Braves touch it, and I believe Agoura fell on it. Coach Charlie Weger pulls the tricks out here early in the second quarter, and sure enough, the Chargers have the football. Matthew Goldberg, the kicker, surprising everybody here with the onside kick, and the Chargers recover. A personal foul. You can tack on 15 more for Agoura. Wow. 14-7, Bosco leads, but Agoura gets the ball right back here. I like the decision because it seems that Agoura's defense just can't stop Rosen and Bosco's offensive attack. That's such a smart play call right there. It's risky, but it's smart.
Yeah, football, some people make it more complicated than it really is. In order to win football games, you got to be able to hold the turnover battle to being in your favor and prevent big plays. Well, they've given up big plays. They've also made big plays. The Chargers have. And now they're winning the turnover battle with a huge onside kick recovery.
So back out comes the Charger offense at the St. John Bosco 45. Barmassi comes out of the gun. It's going to be a play action, quick pass that time, and it's going to be the tight end, Max Sealing, getting down the sidelines to the St. John Bosco 35 for another Charger first down. I'm just so impressed that the 16 seed in the Pac-5 playoffs has come in and played this well against the number 1 team in the state of California.
Well, because I mentioned Kevin Adams leading the charge as well there for those Chargers. They have instead of having an mentality that we're going to knock you in the mouth, they just look at this game as an opportunity to play the best team in the state, and they're playing them awfully well. Sean Barr with another gain there on the ground, chewing up clock. That's another thing that Bosco has struggled with. When they're losing the time of possession, they're typically losing on the scoreboard as well. You can talk about big plays, Shea Fields, Jaleel Wadood, all you want. When you're losing the time of possession, you're keeping your offense that is so potent with those receivers on the sideline. This is a Charger team that is so dynamic, running and passing the football as we see here.
A 2nd and 6 for Agoura. It's going to be a screen pass, and catching it is Kevin Adams, and Adams is down the sidelines, and he has himself another Agoura first down before getting popped by Chandler Lanou. But continuing to move down the field against one of the best defenses in the nation are these Agoura Chargers. Simply with little dump-off screen passes and quick passes over the middle, Jack Barmassi is just putting on a show out of the pocket.
Boy, if these guys weren't wearing any jerseys so far in the first quarter, I would look at this team as being a reminiscent of the Bosco Braves during the regular season. Defense has certainly got to make a stop here for Bosco. They have another handoff up the middle. This is not surprising for Sean Barr to be the mainstay of the offense. Sure, you're getting Kevin Adams outside, but Sean Barr has taken the girth of the carries so far in the first half.
Sean Barr that time with a gain of 2. It'll be a 2nd and 8 here for Agoura in the red zone for the 3rd time today. They didn't convert on their first drive, turned it over on downs. It was a great stop by Bosco, just pressuring Barmassi. But last drive, Agoura drove 80 yards down the field for a score. Here, Charlie Wigger decides to go with an onside kick. Agoura gets the football back, and here they are once again in the red zone. Adam, how badly does Bosco need this stop? I mean, they're still up 14-7, 11:01 to go second quarter. They're at home. They've had no trouble whatsoever on the offensive side of the ball. But, boy, if Agoura ties up the game right now, I feel like all the momentum in the world is on the Chargers sidelines.
It is on the Chargers side, but I don't think that it's a necessity. As of this point, it's still very early in the game. We know Bosco is a second-half team, but it's very good for Bosco to get a stop here if they can.
Well, after the play, it was a personal foul on St. John Bosco, so this is going to move it up to the Braves 9, and it's going to be 1st and goal once again for the Chargers. They trail by 7. The handoff's going to go to Sean Barr, and he's met right at the line of scrimmage. Great stop that time by the Bosco defensive line, letting the 5'11", 165 Barr to get absolutely nothing on that carry.
Nigel Hill checks in as the other cornerback here for the Bosco Braves down on the goal line. He's a bigger corner that can press up man on man. He looks like he's going to be one-on-one against Kevin Adams, a man that has burned this Bosco Brave unit in the first half.
2nd and goal from the Bosco 9 for Agoura. They trail by 7. Barmassi's back to pass, has some time, goes towards the end zone, but it's too tall that time for the intended receiver, Andrew Horton. And it'll be a 3rd and goal for Agoura here.
If the Chargers can't get a touchdown here, then it certainly puts their defense, which has proven to be completely undermatched to those Bosco Braves, at a disadvantage one more time. If you keep the offense on the field, you have a shot here. You just got to win the time of possession, as I mentioned, one more time here on a 3rd and long.
3rd and long. Barmassi's going to be flushed out to the right, throws a bullet, and it's almost intercepted by Brett Baldwin. He batted it down, incomplete. and it'll be a 4th and goal for Agoura, and it appears that Coach Charlie Weger is going to send out the field goal unit here with 9:56 to go, second quarter. Bosco holding that 14-7 lead.
We talked about getting a stop here, and that's exactly what Bosco did here. It looked like Agoura was going to drive right down and score another 7 and tie this up, but now they have to go for 3 rather than getting their guaranteed 7.
It's Mike Aberched in to attempt the field goal. It's going to be about a 26-yarder. It's a line drive. He barely got it high enough, but sure enough, he kicks it through the uprights. That's all that matters. Field goal good. And with 9:53 left to go in the second quarter from St. John Bosco High School, the underdogs, David versus Goliath. It's 14-10, the Braves lead.
Tonight's presentation of St. John Bosco football is brought to you by Tam's Pizzeria. Deliver, call in, and order. Just walk into the corner of Bellflower and Rosecrans for Tam's Pizzeria. They have it all. And highschoolscoreboard.com. All of your updated scores, news, and statistics all at one place. To get the app and registration, log on at highschoolscoreboard.com.
Back here at St. John Bosco High School, 9:53 left to go, second quarter. The Bosco Braves being challenged here early at home by the Agoura Chargers. 14-10 they lead, but they've certainly had their fair of troubles with the lowest ranked team in the Pac-5 playoffs. Real quickly before Agoura is set to kick it off, we have scores from around these Pac-5 divisional playoffs. 22-10 Alemany leads Lakewood. 6-0 Poly leads Orange Lutheran. Servite up 14-7 on the road against Westlake. This time it's going to be an onside kick once again for Agoura, but this time Clifford Sims hops on it, and that'll give Bosco the ball at midfield. I don't know about doing that back-to-back possessions.
Looked like they were ready for it that time. I want to make a correction, though. Arborched is the kickoff specialist for this team, specifically there with the squib kicks. And then Goldberg is a man that they depend more on for field goal tries. Impressive that most of the Charger offensive players also play a little bit of defensive special teams, like Goldberg there.
Bosco will start here right at the 50-yard line. It'll be a quick pass out to Angelo Quintero, and Quintero inside the 40. Quintero down to the 34-yard line of the Chargers. Josh Rosen just keeps it going with that arm. He looks very crisp here tonight.
Only 2 carries for Sean McGrew so far in the first quarter. A surprising call there by Jason Negro to attack these cornerbacks. We talked about, with Chad Johnson, we talked about that offensive attack, how they're going to beat these Chargers. He mentioned, go to the pass early and often.
Quick pass this time out to Sean McGrew. McGrew, the speedster, inside the 20, and he's going to step out of bounds at the 19-yard line. Another 1st and 10 for the Braves. This offense just is really, really overpowering the Agoura defense. You can see exactly why head coach Charlie Weger went with back-to-back onside kicks.
Well, yeah, this team is most certainly hard to stop. Josh Rosen, for the first time in seemingly a month, Chris, we're seeing a different quarterback, a guy that actually... And we tack on 15 for roughing the passer. How about that? Now the penalties are beginning to turn against the Chargers here. You got to win in the red zone. That's one of the big keys for a football team. Win in the red zone and hold the time of possession in your favor.
This will move it up to the Agoura 10-yard line. 1st and goal for the Braves. They already lead 14-7. Screen pass out to Wadood. Wadood shaking and baking. He dives. He's in. Touchdown Braves. The screen pass that's seemingly worked all season long for Chad Johnson's offense comes up big in the red zone, and Bosco gets the points back with 9:15 to go in the second quarter. It's 20-10.
That was just a great job by that Bosco offense there. Great blocking there for Wadu to get in, and that was just Wadu making a move on his feet. That's him creating his own play right there.
Reed Budrovich in to attend the extra point. The holder is Richard Cole. The snapper is Elijah Zabladoff, and Budrovich misses the extra point wide right. Something you almost never see from the senior lefty kicker, but apparently he missed that one wide right according to the officials standing under the field goal posts. And with 9:15 to go here in the second quarter, Bosco will maintain that 20-10 lead. We were in the middle of giving you scores from around the Pac-5 playoffs before Bosco's quick offense got moving, but not really much time with Bosco's offense to really analyze anything or especially give scores. But like we said, 22-10, Alemany leads Lakewood. 6-0, Poly leads Orange Lutheran from Betts Memorial Stadium. Servite is up 21-7 now against the Westlake Warriors down in Westlake Village. St. Bonnie's leading Notre Dame. Sherman Oaks 21-14. Mission Viejo out to a big lead on Crespi 21-0. Tesoro leads Cabrillo 21-12. And Mater Dei striked first at Oaks Christian. It's 7-0 Monarchs.
If you're a fan of defense in this game between the Braves and the Chargers, see your way out. Shea Fields tacked on 2 touchdowns earlier to make it a 20-10 game. Jaleel Wadoud with the last touchdown reception. Looks like for the 1,000th time this season. Budjovic boots it in for a touchback. Also another thing we've seen about 1,000 times, Jaleel Wadoud. Catch and run of, it was only a 9-yard total play, but it racks up 6 points. That's his 10th touchdown of the season. Josh Rosen adds on 3 TDs so far in the first half, and if again, the defenses have just not shown up today. Braves 20 and the Chargers 10. Josh Rosen with his 21st touchdown of the season. How about that?
Certainly buy one, get 15 free on the offensive side of the ball.
And you mentioned Andrew Katnick is the guy that should be replacing Josh Rosen. Am I correct? I'm leaving you speechless here, Chris. I'm sorry.
This is a different Josh Rosen here tonight, as Barmasi's going to come out of the gun, and it's a complete pass to Sean Barr, but being taken down immediately by the big defensive lineman, the USC commit Malik Dorton that time. That was a hard hit.
Well, I mean, we're not questioning who should be replacing Barmasi. I think he's a guy that's going to be staying here in this offense. As both of these it's just been a play of the quarterbacks here, Chris. It's been a fun game here, and only a touchdown and field goal differential nearing halftime. We never expected this.
This time it's going to be a run up the middle with Sean Barr. Gain of just 2 that time, and it'll be quickly a 3rd and 5 for the Chargers. They haven't faced too many third downs tonight, but when they have, they've converted them.
They've converted every one. You got to thank Barmasi for being the guy that's so dependable here on this offense. When Sean Barr is covered, when you got those receivers blanketed there as they go to 4 wide here, Barmasi's made a play.
Rolling out and throwing incomplete is Sean Barmasi. Once again, the pass tipped at the line of scrimmage, and you'd have to think Agoura's forced to punt here, and sure enough, they will be. That's the only knock you have on a smaller quarterback. You're going to have those tipped passes at the line from time to time.
Well, the fact that they are down by 10 has nothing to do with Barmasi, and only his 2nd incomplete pass of the first half. He almost has as many touchdowns as incompletions. How about that? And the Bosco Braves are winning the war up front, as they already have sacked this quarterback several times and have batted down. That was their 3rd pass in the first half.
The punter is the quarterback, Barmasi. No fake this time, and it's going to bounce to Jaleel Wadoud, and he's just going to let it go. He takes a nice Agoura hop all the way down to the 27-yard line, so that's where Josh Rosen and this seemingly unstoppable Bosco offense will take over with 8:01 left to go in the second quarter. The Braves up 20-10.
It's going to be interesting to see how Agoura responds to giving up such quick touchdowns. We'll look to see if they try to change their defense at all, whether it be how they line up, who they match up against, or if they go into a different zone or man coverage at this point.
1st and 10 for Rosen, and an offense that's 3 for 3 with 3 touchdowns on all 3 of their offensive drives so far here tonight. From the 27 they'll start. McGrew the lone back, and McGrew has a seam. There goes Sean McGrew. Lightning McGrew down the sidelines. Nobody's going to catch the sophomore. Touchdown Braves!
The offensive line pushed those Chargers back. It was a good 5 yards before he even got past the line of scrimmage. This is an undersized defensive front who has seen nothing but girth and power on that offensive line. Damian Mama leading the charge. You had a couple of all-pros on that offensive line making their way, just pushing that Charger defensive front back time and time again. That's been the story of the first half. And for a Charger team that came into here with such high expectations, it has been disappointing on the defensive side. You can't blame Barmasi when the defense gives up 4 touchdown drives on 4 possessions. They even had an onside kick recovery, and right now are down 27-10 as Zach Robertson, Emery Seif, and Elijah Zabladoff pushed that defensive front back into the end zone as they just took that defensive front and threw them, doing whatever they want to at them.
This game's kind of reminding me of the Dominguez game where Bosco just can score on the first play of each of their drives. Well, it's not to the extent that the Dominguez game was. It's sort of the same thing, how it seems like Bosco runs one play and it turns into a touchdown.
So how about the Braves? 4 offensive possessions, 4 touchdowns against the Charger defense that they expected to dominate, but 3 plays of over 70 yards for touchdowns so far. 2 catches by Shea Fields and that 73-yard run from the sophomore Sean McGrew, who doesn't seem to disappoint ever.
Well, we talked about Sean McGrew as in our final game. We spoke to him. He was our player of the game. We never put him on the broadcast here, but he was nothing but a positive spirit, Chris. Your thoughts on a man that just got 1,000 yards, just passed up Manesse Anesi as the starter on this team. He's going to be here for quite some time. And in my mind, just a great man, a wonderful person who has a talent and is certainly using it here.
It's always good to see high school stars that don't have egos and aren't all about themselves. And I think that speaks for every single soul on this Braves sideline. These guys are really a brotherhood. These guys are a unit, and these guys are chasing one thing, and that's a state championship ring. Yeah. Bosco in good position to at least get to the second round, up 27-10 right now on the Agoura Chargers, as Jack Barmasi and the Charger offense will start from their own 20-yard line. 7:35 to go, second quarter. Chris Sylvester, Nick Rice, Adam Ferrister here with you tonight on the Spreaker.com national sports station, presented by the CIF Southern Section. They gave us the go to broadcast this week, and we'd like to thank Anita Foltman for all the work she put in this week to make this broadcast possible. 2nd and 8 after a 2-yard gain from Barr. It's going to be a quick pass, and it's almost intercepted. The physical cornerback who's headed to Arizona, Nigel Hale, broke that one up, and all of a sudden, this Charger offense isn't exactly in the same rhythm it was back in the first quarter.
Andrew Horton, the intended receiver. All 3 of these wideouts under 6 feet tall and under 190 pounds. When they compare against Shea Fields, stands at 6'1", 200, and then Jaleel Wadu, while he may not be the biggest man in the world, he certainly pales in comparison to these guys that are just not finding their spaces in coverage.
It's going to be a quick screen pass to Barr, and Barr is met in the backfield. Jason Lucero and Chandler Lanou gobbling up the senior star running back for the Chargers. It'll be a 4th and 10, and for the second consecutive possession, the Chargers will send out the punting unit.
Sean Barr is a talent, but when he's the leading receiver by a mile, that shows your lack of downfield ability. And you can't blame Barmas when guys are just not open. That was a designed screen, but it was also a designed waving the red flag, a designed forfeit on that drive, as on 3rd and long. They just haven't had the explosiveness there.
Waving the white flag for sure. Yeah. It just seems that it could be momentum, because it seemed that when the game was 14-10, Agoura had all the momentum in the world. Bosco, with 2 quick touchdown drives, really sucks all the energy out of the Agoura sideline. And it's really turning into the game that we all thought it would be, which was probably a blowout. But how about the effort so far on that Charger offense? The punt went only to the Agoura 45-yard line, so that's where Josh Rosen and the offense will take over. It's going to be a play action. Rosen back to pass. Rosen's going deep for Fields. Fields catches it. his third touchdown reception of the night. This one for 45 yards. And the Bosco offense can do no wrong with 6:23 left to go here in the second quarter. 33-10, the Braves lead.
Shea Fields is making those guys look like Pop Warner players out there. He's burning them by at least 3 yards on every single one of his touchdown. You don't see that very often. It seems like those cornerbacks don't know where the ball is and let Shea Fields get a good 3 to 5 yards ahead of him.
Hey, they know where the ball is. It's in the receiver's end. It's in their opponent's end zone. That's where it is.
This Agoura defense really struggling to get anything going.
That's the understatement of the year, Chris. 34 points in 18 minutes. Come on now.
It's this high-powered St. John Bosco offense. Shea Fields, how about this?
Yeah.
The senior receiver, the USC commit, 3 catches, 3 touchdowns here tonight.
Well, he hasn't even had any competition. You beat him at the line of scrimmage. And I was praising during the pregame intro about these safeties that are not only making plays, but are leading their secondary in tackles. How about Jeffrey Choi and Matthew Goldberg getting burnt like a torch in this game? 34 points in 18 minutes as the Bosco Braves are running up that scoreboard. They are just racking up the points, and for those Chargers who looked at this team as just being an opportunity to play the top team in the state, an opportunity to see how they compare against a team as good as Bosco, this has just been a first half to forget for that defense. I can't believe they aren't getting the memo that this is such a fast offense that they're playing so much press coverage. They may feel confident, but why are you press coveraging when you're down by so much?
34-10, 6:23 left to go, second quarter. The Braves lead. Reed Budrovich once again kicks this one back into the end zone for a touchback. You talk about the offense for St. John Bosco here tonight. Like you said, 34 points in 18 minutes. Kind of got to listen to that one more time. 34 points in 18 minutes. Hard to believe, but Shea Fields has been the big story for the Braves. 3 catches, 3 touchdowns, over 200 yards receiving. You got to be kidding me.
It's definitely a coming out party for the Bosco Braves. You mentioned 18 minutes. About 10 to 12 of those minutes have been dominated by the Chargers as they've scored in quick plays. The Bosco Braves have. And then this Charger team, they're getting slow, monotonous drives here, chewing up clock, and are ending up kicking the football away back over to the opponent's side as their punting unit has been on the field more than their offense has in the opponent's territory. It just hasn't been good for a defense that I thought would actually be pretty reliable here. We were talking about a couple of superstars in Choi and also Luke Duff, who nearly has 100 tackles for their team. Nothing doing here in the first half.
Well, I don't think the Agoura Chargers see anything close to the level of St. John Bosco's offense, even in a good Mermonte league. It'll be 3rd and 5 upcoming here for Agoura at the St. John Bosco 25. It's tough to say this, but it's the truth. With 5:43 left to go in the second quarter, this one's pretty much in the books.
Well, the fat lady isn't singing, but he's certainly warming up there on the sideline as it seems to be a little bit conclusive now. The Braves, a second half team as well. Barmassi, have been impressed with his passing consistency, though, for that offense.
Barmassi's going to go for his receiver, Andrew Horton, but he overshot him, incomplete. And for the 3rd consecutive offensive possession, we see this Charger offense get into a slump here. They're going to punt once again.
Bogging down there. It's been a nice flip-flopping series here as both of these offenses are spending very little time giving it back to the opponent as the Braves, in only 3 plays last time, found the end zone for Shea Fields. They're going to go for a fake here on 4th down and long. What are they doing? No, they're going to fake it and go back to a punt. Interesting first half strategies here for Charlie Wager and that Charger squad as they have seemingly faked a number of times punting and going for kickoffs. Charlie Wager, in a game like this, you want to pull out all the stops, but these stops aren't working.
Those stops are dug
are
deep.
The team, yeah.
The stop signs are dug in deep into the ground. And this Agoura team is all but in the ground. 34-10, they trail at St. John Bosco against the Braves. 5:35 left to go, second quarter, and the punt is going to be blocked. It's going to be picked up at the 18-yard line of Agoura, and that's where Josh Rosen and St. John Bosco will take over. It just keeps getting worse for Agoura. This one's, if it's not already ugly, it's on the verge of getting really hideous.
Adam mentioned that this is looking like a Pop Warner team playing the Braves. I think that might be a little bit generous here, as the line has not been good at all for both offense and defense, but they do have skill players that will come back. They have a lot. The Chargers are a very young team too, along with the Braves. So look for them to return next season with a vengeance here. 6-4 this season. See what they can do next year. Might not be good for this season.
Rosen and the Braves start at the 18. The handoff to McGrew. Nobody's going to catch him. Touchdown Braves. Fourth time tonight the Braves have scored on their first play of the drive. 5:26 left to go here, second quarter. It's 40-10 St. John Bosco.
This game kind of reminds me of playing Madden 2025, and you're playing on rookie, and they're playing on all Madden, and they're pulling out all the stops. But when you're so undermatched, what can Charlie Wager do? He's pulling out fake punts. He's going for onside kicks. He's even recovered one onside kick in the first quarter, pulling out all the stops. But when they hand the football off, and Damian Bama, where the line of scrimmage is the 18-yard line, and by the time McGrew gets the handoff, his own opponent is 10 yards past the line of scrimmage. I mean, they are pushing these guys around like a rag doll, throwing them back and forth. It has been ugly.
The Agoura Ragdolls trail the St. John Bosco Braves 41-10 with 5:26 left to go. In the second quarter, we'll have scores from around the playoffs when we get back. Bosco up big in Bellflower.
Catch every high school game this season with the High School Scoreboard app, along with @StJohnBosco on Twitter as well. Now back to Bosco football with Chris Sylvester and Nick Rice.
Back here at St. John Bosco High School, 5:26 to go, second quarter. The Braves up big here against the Agoura Chargers in the first round of the CIF Southern Section Pac-5 Division Playoffs. 41-10, the Braves lead the Chargers here at Father Frank Rabata Field. Bosco's offense literally unstoppable so far here tonight. Reed Budrovich is going to kick it off once again, and this one is going to sail back into the end zone once again. And once again, the Chargers will start at their own 20.
Yes, it seems like these Chargers just can't find a way to score, and it just seems that all of their attempts get stopped. They had a good couple drives in the beginning going, but Bosco's just adjusted, which is Agoura has not adjusted, and Bosco has, and it's showing on the scoreboard.
Hey, talk about adjustment. Olu just scored a touchdown with the extra point. They're going to lead by one over Poly. Can you believe that? Boy, as that is also significant in these Pac-5 playoffs, huh, Chris?
Well, you talk about Long Beach Poly Olu, definitely the biggest, the most entertaining first-round matchup by far, as Olu misses the extra point, so you jinxed them. 7:31 left to go, third quarter from Betts Memorial Stadium. Olu and Long Beach Poly all tied up, but the Jackrabbits coming into the game in a heap of trouble. The defending CIF Southern Section champions, possibly seeing the best team they'll see until they see a team like Bosco or Mission Viejo, as Barmasi's going to complete this one on the first play of the drive to Adams all the way to the 31 for a gain of 11, first and 10. Haven't said that in a while for Agoura, but getting back to that Long Beach Poly Orange Lutheran talk, the triple option, I mean, it seems like they've slowed it down. Only 6 points allowed so far for the Jackrabbit defense, but both kickers missing extra points. How about that?
Well, Luke Langdon scores on a 1-yard touchdown plunge. Olu 6, Poly 6. And if there's any ironic twist here for this game,
At one point, the Chargers were up. No, they were down by 4 points at one point in the first half. It was 14-10 at the end of the first quarter. Boy, 28 unanswered points, or 27 unanswered points, by those Bosco Braves. We have another exciting couple of games going on in the CIF playoffs. We're going to get updates to you on those, presented by Tam's Pizzeria. Go to the corner of Bellflower and Rosecrans for Tam's Pizzeria. You can call in and order and say Braves #1. You'll receive $2 off. Tam's Pizzeria, they have it all. They also deliver, call in, and order. And you know what a team has delivered? Bosco has delivered so far in the first half, along with other teams in the Trinity League.
Well, getting to those scores as Agoura takes a timeout here. They have a 2nd and 14 at their own 27. 41-10, the Braves lead here. 3:47 left to go in the second quarter from Bellflower. 22-10, Alamany still leading Lakewood. Servite and Westlake now tied up at 21. Servite was leading that game 21-7. We're watching the plethora of games here on the Fox Sports Prep Zone. St. Bonnie's 21-14, they lead Notre Dame. Mission Viejo 21-0. They lead Crespi 28-18. Tesoro leads Cabrillo. The winner of that game will presumably face St. John Bosco next week. Mater Dei up 14-7 at Oaks Christian. And like we've been talking about here in the last couple of minutes, Olu and Poly tied. Adam, you're over here watching a bunch of these games. What can you give us so far about these Trinity League opponents and what they're showing in the first round?
They're showing what we've suspected all year long, that the Trinity League is dominant no matter what place you are in. You see it with these games, and the Long Beach Poly Olu is one we were keeping our eye on, Poly being the defending champions. And we're seeing Olu, who is a Trinity League team, looking to dethrone the champions.
Certainly the Poly Jackrabbits trying to keep it going in hopes of repeating as CIF Southern Section champions, but Olu and the Lancers giving them all they can handle. 6-6, like we said, down at Veterans Memorial Stadium. And we got another good one between two Trinity League teams in Servite and Westlake. Those teams tied up at 21 down in Westlake Village.
Yes, that one's looking really good. Servite has the ball right now, and it's 2nd and 15 right now for them. And we'll get back to updates at halftime for sure, if not sooner.
Yeah, be sure to tune into the Tam's Halftime Report presented by Tam's Pizzeria. They have it all. Say Braves #1 and receive $2 off any specialty pizza. Also, receive $2 off any Charger yards gain, because I don't know really how to kind of try to connect those two right there, but 41-10, St. John Bosco leads. 3:20 to go second quarter.
Looks like that offense has been disconnected. You're not the only one that's found a tough time trying to get going here in the first half. I mean, speaking of that Olu and Poly game, which in a lot of eyes was supposed to be the game of the week, and it's really served up to be just that and then some. They're going to punt it deep, and it's going to go out of bounds as Barmas has a shank punt that's going to go into Brave territory by a hair. It's going to be the 40, looks like 3-yard line. Poly and the Olu Lancers tied at 6. I would have bet my mother that the Lancers would have scored more than 6 points in 2.5 quarters.
Well, their offense certainly has struggled. Last week they got shut out against Mater Dei. This week, another very good Poly team that they're facing, but still no dice for the Orange Lutheran Lancers, but 6-6 the score at Vets Memorial Stadium. Like I said, stay tuned for the Tam's Pizzeria Halftime Report. Nick Rice, your host, will give you all these scores and more from around the CIF Pac-5 playoffs. Bosco will start here at their own 43. The handoff's going to go to Nas, his first carry of the night, and Nas breaks loose. How about Manesi Anesi down the sidelines? He's all the way inside the St. John Bosco 10 to the 7-yard line. Not too many times you'll see Nas, the power back, break off big runs, but shoot, even you and I could bust through those holes that the St. John Bosco offensive line is creating against a much weaker defensive line for Agoura.
The Bosco Braves did a nice job sealing off the inside. It was Elijah Zabladoff and also the center Emery Seafy just splitting the A and the B gap. You have Anesi running straight through, and then on back-to-back efforts, Luke Duff and Sean Barr missing the tackle. And Anesi, his longest run of the season, he's the key play for a touchdown. Boy, Chris, scoring again are the Braves.
Well, how about the Braves here? They're going with a new package we talked to the coaches about this week. It's called Samoa, and Emery Sefo just got the handoff, and he gained 3 yards.
Yeah, I've been waiting to see. I talked to the coaches a few weeks ago, and they said they'll put that play in, and I've been waiting to see that for a couple weeks now, and I'm very happy to see Emery Sefo, offensive lineman, get the call to run the ball.
They'll come out in Samoa again. Mark Ballinger, Emery Sefo, and Nas in the backfield for the Braves. The 2nd and goal. They'll give it to Anesi, and Anesi is going to be met after just a gain of 1 that time. So Samoa not really working out so far in the first couple of plays, but it's a fun package to see Bosco run when you have big 77 Emery Sefo getting the handoff.
Not since the refrigerator Perry scoring touchdowns did I see a 3-yard run look so entertaining. He bullied about the whole football team there, and now inside the 2-yard line. Yet again, this package is on the field.
It's Samoa, the handoff to Sefo. Sefo barreling through, but he can't get the touchdown. He's tackled at the 1.
Go for it on 4th down. This is an entertaining package, and this may be they're keeping the offense on the field. This may be a huge slap in the face against the Chargers, but on 4th down, they want to get in the end zone again, up 41-10.
How about Emery Sefo, the big 6'1", 300-pound offensive lineman, getting carries tonight for the Braves. They'll hand off to him again. He dives and he's in! Touchdown, Braves! The big offensive lineman, Emery Sefo, got the carry, and he busted through. 47-10, St. John Bosco. Emery Sefo, you are hearing me correctly. Touchdown, Braves.
I was talking to him actually today and asking them if they will run this play, and they said if they get close to the end zone, Johnson does expect to run this play, and we saw it right there, and that is something you will not see very often.
You guys are looking like a kid at a candy store. Holy cow, it's only a 1-yard gain for a touchdown. Jeez, they've only reached the end zone about 1,000 times in this game. Extra point is good, 48-10, as we're under a minute to go, 39 seconds with the Chargers giving up their 35th unanswered point in the second quarter.
There's a reason why we're looking like a young child at a candy store. Emery Sefo, all right, who just got the touchdown carry for the Braves. In case you don't know who that is, a 6'1", 307-pound lineman.
You don't see that at high school. You really don't.
You don't see that anywhere.
Yeah. Well, you saw that with the refrigerator Perry back with the Bears a long time ago. He got the call 4 consecutive times, and 4 times a charm for that man, that young 307-pound offensive lineman who gets it done on the ground. Touchdown, Braves.
How about that? 48-10, the Braves lead here. 39 seconds to go in the second quarter. We'll step away real quick, and we'll come back with the final few plays of the first half. The Braves are up big here, and by big, we're talking Emery Sefo big. You're listening to the national sports station, an affiliate of Spreaker.com.
Hey, the candy store will be right back. Tonight's presentation of St. John Bosco football is brought to you by Tam's Pizzeria. Deliver, call in, and order. Just walk into the corner of Bellflower and Rosecrans for Tam's Pizzeria. They have it all. And highschoolscoreboard.com. All of your updated scores, news, and statistics all at one place. To get the app and registration, log on at highschoolscoreboard.com.
Back here at St. John Bosco High School, 48-10, the Braves leading the Agoura Chargers here in round 1 of the CIF Southern Section Pac-5 Divisional Playoffs. 39 seconds left to go here in the first half from Bellflower, California. Chris Sylvester, Nick Rice, Adam Ferrister, hoping you guys are having fun listening to us at home, but if there's anybody who's having fun right now. It's the St. John Bosco Braves up 38 points, fresh off of a touchdown drive where their 307-pound offensive lineman got into the end zone. So with 33 seconds left to go here after the kickoff, Agoura returned it for the first time tonight only to the St. John Bosco 15. And if you're head coach Charlie Weiger here, just throw up Hail Marys at this point. I mean, you're down 38. Why not? Don't just take a knee and go into the locker room down 38. You're kidding me if you do something like that.
He's been aggressive all half, and he's currently down by 38 points. But with 32 seconds, I do like Barb Moss, as he's such an accurate quarterback in a 2-minute drill with 2 timeouts. You should expect some sideline routes and a couple of completed passes here.
Well, Barmad is going to step up, and he's going to be taken down.
Yeah, that's another thing to expect. Another quarterback sack, number 4 in the first half.
Eric Golston, the Mayfair transfer, getting in on the sack there. And the clock is just going to wind down, I do believe, here in the first half. 48-10, St. John Bosco leads. And sure enough, the Chargers are going to be content with going down into the locker room. 38-point deficit for Agoura. 48-10. The buzzer sounds here. We have halftime from St. John Bosco High School. The Braves up big at home against Agoura in the first round of the CIF Southern Section Pac-5 playoffs. Nick Rice will have the Tams Pizzeria halftime report for you. Should be a good one with plenty of scores to report from around the playoffs. 48-10 the score. Bosco leads at the half. Stay tuned for the Tams halftime report.
Tonight's presentation of St. John Bosco football is brought to you by Tams Pizzeria. Deliver, call in, and order. Just walk into the corner of Bellflower and Rosecrans for Tams Pizzeria. They have it all. And highschoolscoreboard.com. All of your updated scores, news, and statistics all at one place. To get the app and registration, log on at highschoolscoreboard.com. Tams Pizzeria is a proud sponsor of the St. John Bosco Football Radio Network. Tams has it all. Pizza, wings, burgers, and more. Say Braves #1 when you order any specialty pizza and receive $2 off. Call in and order at 562-925-7700. Again, 562-925-7700. Walk-ins are always welcome as Tams is located on the corner of Bellflower and Rosecrans. Tams Pizzeria. They have it all. Welcome to the St. John Bosco halftime report delivered by Tams Pizzeria, a proud sponsor of the National Sports Radio station.
Tams Pizzeria is a proud sponsor of today's halftime report. Emery Cepho, 4 carries for 9 yards. And guess what? That man, 307 pounds, finds the end zone. And this Bosco lead is about as big as his waistline. A 38-point lead for those Braves over the rival Agoura Chargers, as those Chargers have found no rhythm in the first half. The Bosco Braves running all up and down the football field. Score is 48-10, as we'll have stats from that game in a moment. But we are having a very entertaining Trinity score updates from around that league, along with the Pac-5 divisional playoffs. The rest of our crew is jumping up and down for such an exciting game between Olu and Poly, as we'll give you seemingly play-by-play updates as we are beginning the fourth quarter for the Poly and the Olu Lancers as well. It's 6-6 in that game. Just a quick score update from around the league. 25-17, Alemany out in front. Servite all tied up at 21 apiece in that game, and Tesoro still out in front, 25-18.
Well, it appears we might be moving our broadcast to Vets Memorial State. Not really, but I mean we're sitting here watching the Olu Long Beach Poly game, courtesy of Fox Sports Prep Zone, and Olu driving, and it's just Olu looks really good against Long Beach Poly, and sure enough, right as we're talking, It is a touchdown catch for Olu, and with 11:17 left in the fourth quarter from Veterans Memorial Stadium, that was Luke Langdon to Adam Kinnett, who had themselves quite a game here against St. John Bosco when Olu gave the Braves all they could handle. But down at Veterans Memorial Stadium, the Long Beach Poly Jackrabbits are being given all they can handle by the Orange Lutheran Lancers. The Lancers currently out in front 12-6 over Long Beach Poly. The crown might soon be taken off the Jackrabbits' heads.
Well, the significance of this game being the Olu Lancers is they were sneaking into the playoffs after being 0-2 in league play before they ripped off a couple of victories. They had a very disappointing last-second loss to Servite on a Hail Mary. They were leading 19-13 and gave up a Hail Mary with less than 10 seconds to go. So Olu has been... No team has been bitten harder by that snake, by that bad luck, than the Olu Lancers, who also, in the Trinity League season, were as close as any opponent to beating these Braves. As in the first half, they were actually leading against these Braves that have dominated the rest of the competition. They lost by 18 points there. But the Olu Lancers, the significance here is with a win, they may indeed, we're going to get exactly the significance there, but the Olu Lancers, what's very important there is they were down early in the league play, and they came back, won a couple of games, beat Santa Margarita, and they're now into the postseason as they won a coin flip that unfortunately J. Sarah lost, and now they're bumped from out of the postseason play. And if we look at this game, 48-10 in favor of the Bosco Braves. A team like J. Sarah certainly has to be shaking their heads thinking a team like the Chargers, who have looked like a Pop Warner squad, a Pee-wee team in this matchup, are favored to go into the postseason with a 6-4 record rather than the J. Sarah Lions, who also in their own right were 6-4, but against the Trinity League, not against a much lesser league with those Agoura Chargers. There's even been a 4-6 ball club, a losing team that is in the playoffs. A couple of teams, actually, as a matter of fact, in the Pac-5 division, including Crespi, 4-6, and they're in the postseason. How about that? 13-6, the Olu Lancers are out in front over Poly, Long Beach Poly. Got the information there with 11 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. Boy, believe it or not, we actually have a game here in Frank Rabada Field. 48-10, the Bosco Braves out in front, and they can basically write their plane ticket to the next round of the playoffs as they are on their way. They're flying high to round number 2, and we'll give you up-to-date information on exactly what Bosco has to look forward to in the next round of the playoffs, along with the rest of these teams. Olu Lancers out 13-6 over their opponent, Long Beach Poly.
Yeah, we got a good game between Long Beach Poly and Olu. 13-6 right now. Like Nick mentioned, 11:16 left to go in the fourth quarter from Veterans Memorial Stadium. Something funny that our score guy, Travis Neff, pointed out to us tonight, on that last touchdown reception, and Adam, me and you have been watching this, you and I, to be proper, you and I have been watching this game. The touchdown pass that gave Olu the lead, which was caught by Adam Kinnett, was dropped, but the referee still called it a touchdown. If you remember, last year when St. John Bosco went to Poly, a big reason why the Braves lost was because Poly had a dropped pass that was called for a completion as well. So maybe a little bit of karma against the Jackrabbits here.
Yeah, and you could see there it looked like the receiver was very mad that he dropped the ball. And then there was a catch, though, and in high school football, you cannot review a call. So the line judge called it a catch and a touchdown, and due to it not being able to review it and not having another ref in the vicinity, it was a touchdown, which I would have to look at the replay again, but it looked like the ball definitely came out. And it looked like the receiver was upset he dropped it, but it was called for a touchdown, so we'll be looking at the replay right here. And so we'll look and see. And right now we see it with 11:11 left in the fourth. Olu up 13-6. We got good ones coming around the Trinity League, including Servite game, which we'll give you updates for that too.
Servite Westlake tied at 21 at the half. 13-6 Orange Lutheran leading Long Beach Poly. 21-7 Mater Dei leading Oaks Christian. And of course here we have St. John Bosco up 48-10 over the Agoura Chargers of the Marmonte League. Nick, what does this tell you about how strong the Trinity League is? I mean, other than the tie down at Westlake Village between a Westlake team that's favored to beat Servite, I mean, it just shows you how strong and how superior the Trinity League is based off all these scores in these first-round Pac-5 games.
As we expected, the Trinity League is a very dominant league, not just in Southern California, but in the nation. We're talking about the Chargers that put a whooping on Ventura and Oak Park, who have perhaps the greatest running back in the state of California, who have a quarterback that I absolutely love at a number 8 for that team, Bonaventure. Barmas. Boy, I certainly got to get that. But they have a very, very efficient quarterback. They have a couple of receivers in Adams and Goldberg that I really like. Both have scored at least 6 touchdowns on the season. Goldberg with 10 on the year, which is impressive in a high school season where you see a lot of running offense, including for the Chargers, who have run the ball over 250 times throughout their season. For those Chargers, I can't believe against the rest of Southern California, they beat Oak Park and Ventura, and they give St. Bonaventure all they can bargain for. But against the Trinity League, that means absolutely nothing, as this was actually a division leader. Imagine the rest of the division actually isn't even as good as this. 48-10, the Braves out in front.
Yeah, it's been a very impressive showing so far here tonight between the St. John Bosco Braves and the Agoura Chargers. I mean, it was 14-10 after the first quarter. We thought we might have a ball game on our hands, but sure enough, Bosco waking up in the second quarter on the defensive side of the ball, getting a lot of stops against, like you said, a very poised and a very mature Agoura offense that fared really well against this great Brave defense in the first half. But how about Shea Fields, the story of the first half for the Braves? Sean McGrew as well, 2 touchdowns for him, 3 for Shea Fields, the USC commit. Josh Rosen doing just about everything right in the pocket for the Braves. We talked about in that playoff preview show we had earlier, I believe it was Monday this week.
If there was any team, you mentioned any team that can match up against the Bosco Braves first 2 rounds, the Chargers out of any other squad that we will face that may be one and done.
But another thing that I pointed out was that, in the last couple of weeks, Bosco's passing game has really struggled to get going against Mater Dei and Servite most notably. But I'd said that Bosco would try to air the ball out this game to try to pick up the confidence heading into the later rounds of the postseason, assuming Bosco makes it that far, and there's no reason they shouldn't. They're the hands-on favorite to take the CIF Southern section, if not the state. But, I mean, talk about getting your confidence up if you're Josh Rosen. He certainly must have it at the highest level right now. He's just absolutely dominating the secondary of the Chargers.
Yeah, because the receivers are running 5-10, even more yards past their opponent, as they just are against will, just beating these Charger defenders at the line of scrimmage, throwing them around like a rag doll, as I mentioned in the first half. They are just taking it to these Agoura Chargers. And we're also getting another screen update here as we're slowing down the footage. The pass that gave Olu the lead was dropped, and they're calling it a touchdown. How about that? A little bit of irony there. I mean, how about that? Bosco certainly got to feel awfully happy in the halftime locker room. They might as well say nothing about the game and say everything about Olu dropping that pass that was called for a touchdown.
Boy, if this was the NFL or even the NCAA, there'd be TVs in the locker room. I'm sure the players up 38 points at the half would be sitting back on the couch relaxing and watching this game. Unfortunately, they don't have the luxury of doing that. I'm sure somehow they're getting scores of other games because they've known in previous weeks when we've gone down after the game to talk to some of the players as part of our Tam's Pizzeria High School Scoreboard post-game show. But you want to talk about irony, you're exactly right. Last year, if you remember, Ty Tiedemann, the Long Beach Poly quarterback, threw a pass about 45 yards downfield to Juju Smith, the junior receiver at the time for Long Beach Poly, who's definitely going to be headed to the next level if you want to talk about fantastic future Division I athletes in Southern California football. But the pass was clearly dropped on replay, and the referees ruled it a complete pass, and that led to an easy 18 more yards for the Long Beach Poly Jackrabbits. They tacked on the game-winning score. Bosco's season was over 13-10. The Jackrabbits knocked out the Braves and eventually went on to go to the state championship game before they dropped that one 21-20 to Granite Bay. So talk about irony here. If that indeed is the final blow for Long Beach Poly in that Lancer Jackrabbit game, can't say that karma wasn't a factor.
Yeah, boy, absolutely. And for the Lancers, they're going to have a tough road to get farther on in the playoffs. But then again, Long Beach Poly was underdogs in all three of their games in this Pac-5 division last year, and coming up as huge upsets over teams like St. John Bosco and a number of other favorites in this Trinity League. As we are just getting down to the nitty-gritty, boy, how about that? As soon as I go against Long Beach, what just happened, Chris? Wow.
Well, Long Beach Poly just scored a touchdown on a huge passing play to Juju Smith, 45-yard reception. And going back and looking at the replay here, I'm more interested to see if the extra point is up and good. It's 13-12 right now between Orange Lutheran and Long Beach Poly. Man, boy, we're giving you play-by-play of other games while we're at halftime. I think we should be getting paid a little bit extra for this.
Well, then again, another team that also should be, or another couple of guys that should take a little pay cut are these referees, as they may have missed the call there on that touchdown. We're taking a second look, but Long Beach Poly certainly getting things done, and the extra point to make it a tie game. The only thing inefficient in this ball game has been the extra point tries. A couple of missed PATs, and currently it's 13-12. We have a timeout in that game as we're getting back to action in Bosco.
Well, that's certainly a crucial extra point. Adam, you're over here watching the game. What happened on that last play to give Long Beach Poly what could be the tying score, assuming that the extra point, we can't assume, but thinking perhaps that the extra point might go through the uprights?
Juju Smith just made he burnt his defender, and it was a good pass to him, and he was able to score for a 52-yard touchdown pass.
Boy, how about Long Beach Poly? Just right as we're talking, karma. Long Beach Poly gives us a little bit of karma.
Boy, absolutely. Another guy that deserves a pay raise is that Long Beach coach. Certainly coming back and getting the lead there.
Raul
Lara.
One of the best coaches in Southern California football history. He's been doing it for years with the Long Beach Poly Jackrabbits. Long Beach Poly is going for two. Oh, boy, you want to talk about suspense here. The pass is incomplete. And with 8:01 left to go in the fourth quarter, Orange Lutheran leads Long Beach Poly 13-12. It was just a dropped pass that time. The pass too low for the intended receiver. My, oh, my. We talked so great about Raul Lara. Why go for two in that situation?
You can't do that. There's too much time remaining in the game to go for two. That's a terrible call. I understand your aggressiveness to take the lead, but when there's 8 minutes to go and change, and you're down by a point and the offense hasn't gotten anything going, only 12 on the board, that's certainly got to be tough. The Orange Lutheran Lancers and the Long Beach Poly Jackrabbits playing in a 13-12 contest, as we are also giving you scores from other games around the league. Why is that game significant? Because next round of the playoffs. Why is that significant, Chris?
Well, it's very significant because it appears, by just knowing the teams in the Pac-5 playoffs, that the winner of this Olu Poly game might just give themselves a free ticket into the semifinals because they play the winner of St. Bonnie's and Notre Dame. Not a knock on St. Bonnie's and Notre Dame at all, but they're nowhere near the level of Long Beach Poly and Orange Lutheran. So whoever wins this game, I'd say just put them in the semifinals against probably Mission Viejo or Mater Dei.
Yeah, Orange Lutheran, Long Beach Poly playing, and they'll play the winner of St. Bonaventure and Notre Dame. St. John Bosco ahead over Agoura. They're going to face the winner of Cabrillo and Tesoro. Tesoro has the lead there. It looks like it's going to be Bosco and Tesoro in next round of the playoffs. Servite and Westlake, and along with Lakewood and Alameda. The winners of those games are going to face off in the next round of the postseason. Boy, we chose the wrong game if we wanted entertainment here, as it actually was pretty fascinating in the first quarter that the Chargers were getting a couple of onside kicks. We're getting some very nice plays, and even Sean Barr found the end zone against these Bosco Braves. But at the end of the day, at least at the end of the half, this crisp air has turned into a very suffocating wind for those Chargers. It's been very ugly for the Chargers. 48-10, you're listening to the National Sports Radio station as we have Chris for the call at the second half right after this.
She's popping right out of the South Georgia water thaw. Oh, good Lord, she had them long tan legs.
Tam's Pizzeria is a proud sponsor of the St. John Bosco Football Radio Network. Tam's has it all: pizza, wings, burgers, and more. Say Braves #1 when you order any specialty pizza and receive $2 off. Call in and order at 562-925-7700. Again, 562-925-7700. Walk-ins are always welcome, as Tam's is located on the corner of Bellflower and Rosecrans. Tam's Pizzeria. They have it all.
Back here at St. John Bosco High School, we're just about set to get the second half underway. 48-10, the St. John Bosco Braves have themselves quite the cushion at home in the first round of the CIF Pac-5 divisional playoffs against the Agoura Chargers, who finished in 4th place this year in the Marmonte League, second in the West Division, one of the few high school leagues that you'll see divided between West and East. Of course, St. John Bosco, the first place team in the Trinity League. They have the top overall spot here in the playoffs, as Budjovich's kick here to start the second half will be received by Matthew Goldberg. Goldberg cuts to the outside, and he's taken down at the 17-yard line, so that's where Jack Barmasi and the Agoura Chargers offense attempts to get something going in the second half here.
Barmasi over 70% completions after being hit and rocked so far in the first half by that defensive front for the Braves. Still, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and over 125 yards through the air for Barmasi in the first half. Sean Barr over 50 yards receiving, and also tack on another 35 on the ground. He's been a key as they get the call to Barr to begin the second.
It's going to be Barr running to the left tackle for a gain of 3 that time. Sean Barr, we had him at the over-under at 125, compiled 67 yards on the ground in the first half. We'll see if he can reach our little milestone for him at 125, but it'll certainly be tough against this big defensive line that the Braves bring to the table.
Sean Barr, 7.1 yards per carry for that man who leads the entire Pac-5 in rushing yards. Tack on 20 touchdowns, but for Sean Barr, he, on a catch and run of 30 yards down the sideline in the first quarter, he did fumble the football. It didn't go out of bounds, but he's fumbled 5 times in this season. If there's any weakness of this young man who's going to have a fine college career, Sean Barr, I compare him to a guy like LaDainian Tomlinson. I love to make NFL comparisons for you guys. He reminds me of LaDainian because of all of the shifty moves he has in space. He is such a great lateral runner, and he made another man miss there on that last play.
Out of the gun comes Barmasi. He throws, and it's going to be complete. Or not. The pass was dropped. Thought that was complete that time. It looks like Adams came down with the ball originally, but dropped it. So Adams fooling everybody in the stadium, including myself up here. It'll be 3 and out here for the Chargers, and Barmasi, who also is the punter for Agoura, back there to booted off. He's had one of these blocked so far here tonight. And this one will be a line drive punch. Jaleel Wadood back to receive it, but he's not going to get a chance to, as the ball will be down to right at the 50-yard line. So the Chargers, by not getting anything going on offense, just continue to give the Braves fantastic field position. Not that it matters, because you could put St. John Bosco on Bellflower Boulevard right now and make them drive 200 yards for a score, and they'd probably still do it.
I've been surprised by the Chargers as well. This is a team that has racked up over 430 yards on the season, averaging that mark. And they just have shown to be very flat when behind. Wide open man down the sideline.
Well, it's a pass going to be this time complete to Jaleel Wadood, and he's going to be taken down all the way at the Agoura 21-yard line. Gain of 29 that time. Usually we get excited for big passing plays like that, but that's just the norm so far on the offensive side of the ball for the Braves here tonight.
Yeah, it just is. It's been big play after big play for Bosco, and there's another one right there.
1st and 10 for the Braves at the Agoura 21. What's new? 5-receiver set. Rosen, a screen pass to Wadood. Wadood cuts up the middle. Wadood still on his feet. Spin move inside the 10, and he's taken down at the 5-yard line. 1st and goal, St. John Bosco.
That's just the Bosco making a play right there themselves, getting down and getting the first down, 1st and goal, and just driving.
1st and goal. What's new for St. John Bosco's offense here tonight? My, oh my, have they just absolutely dominated this Agoura Charger defense. I know we expected Bosco to put up a lot of points, but I don't know if we expected them to dominate this much. Out of the gun comes Rosen. He drops back to pass, throws to the end zone, and it's incomplete. That time he targeted sophomore receiver Jared Harrell, who has a bright future ahead of him here as part of the receiving corps for St. John Bosco. That one of the few incomplete passes on the night for Josh Rosen. In fact, the first incompletion of the night for Josh Rosen comes here with 9:32 to go in the third quarter. 2nd and goal for the Braves.
Man on the coverage was Brenner Marsh, who actually, ironically enough, played quarterback at the JV level last year. He's a junior at only 5'9", but able to disrupt the pass intended for a 6'2" Shea Fields.
Back to pass Rosen. Rosen throws, and it's batted away once again. That time getting in there to bat it away was Luke Duff, the 5'11 linebacker for Agoura. So back-to-back incomplete passes here for Josh Rosen. And I want to point something out. Shea Fields only needs 31 yards to break the old Bosco receiving record for reception yards in one game. How about that? And we still got plenty of football left here in the second half. 9:28 to go in the third quarter. Bosco leading 48-10. They have the ball at the Agoura 5. It's going to be a screen pass to Wadood. Wadood cutting. Wadood into the end zone for another Bosco touchdown. Wadood catches his second TD reception of the night. And with 9:22 to go here from Bellflower, it gets even uglier. 54-10 Braves.
Yeah, that was good by Wadood right there, and we are looking at the Olu game, and Olu just got a field goal, making it 16-12 now.
Yeah, you mentioned things getting awfully ugly. This Charger defense has been seemingly lunging for opposing Bosco ball carriers, as that was, counted, the 7th touchdown scored by the Bosco Braves. 55 points put up after at one point being up only by 4 at the end of the first quarter, 14-10. Shea Fields, you mentioned 31 yards away, the USC commit. We talk about the Trojans being such a powerhouse in the NCAA level. After looking at Shea Fields, what kind of an impact do you expect for him to have at the next level other than great things for the Trojans?
I think he'll eventually become a dominant receiver for USC, but as of right now, he stands at about 6 feet, a generous 175. They list him on the roster, but boy, he just doesn't have the body of a Pac-12 player, and I would not be in the least bit surprised if the Trojans possibly redshirted him, gave him some time in the weight room at the NCAA level to get him a little bit stronger and a little bit more physical, assuming that he's going to be going against some of the top cornerbacks in the nation that the Pac-12 brings to the table.
Yeah, he's scrawny compared to high school level, and you go to the next. I mean, for a guy so athletic, one one big portion of playing receivers, being able to take the big hit. And at the college level, you're going to see a lot more hard hits and impacts that you aren't going to see here at high school, especially against a team so small as the Chargers. He's been running all over the field, but Shea Fields is one of those guys that's going to dominate against a smaller team like the Chargers. When you see big Orange Lutheran coming to town, not the same success.
Shea Fields, despite going against these bigger corners, though, has had a lot of success this year for St. John Bosco, and he will be key throughout the playoffs, hoping he stays healthy because last year, Shea Fields did not play a single playoff game. He was out with a groin injury. And I believe that really hurt St. John Bosco in that Long Beach Poly loss, 13-10 last year in the semis. Agoura will start this drive at their own 18-yard line after the return from Matthew Goldberg. Perhaps Budrovich's leg getting a little bit tired. It's going to be a screen pass this time out to Andrew Horton, and he's taken down after a gain of 5. 2nd and 5 for the Chargers. We'll go over scores now around the Pac-5 playoffs. We got 32-23. Alemany leads Lakewood. That game is in the third quarter. Servite 21, Westlake 21 at the half from Westlake Village. St. Bonaventure leading Notre Dame 35-21 now. Mission Viejo 38-0 over Crespi. That game has a running clock in the third quarter. 25-18. Tesoro leads Lakewood. The winner of that game will play the St. John Bosco Braves next week. Tesoro, of course, came in here to St. John Bosco and gave the Braves a run for their money last year. It was 17-17 at the half before the Braves eventually pulled through for a 38-17 victory in the first round last year against a very tough Tesoro squad. Modern Day 21-7. They still lead up at Oaks Christian, and 16-12, as Adam mentioned, a field goal tacked on by Olu. They lead against Long Beach Poly. That game under 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. The Jackrabbits are in a lot of trouble. They might not defend that crown for much longer, as the pass this time from Barmassi is going to be complete to his tight end, Max Sealing. You talk about that Orange Lutheran and Poly game. Adam, you're over here watching it a little bit more than this game, which is totally understandable. It's 55-10. St. John Bosco leads under 8 minutes to go here in the third quarter, but we have a tight one down at Long Beach Poly. What can you tell us from what you've seen so far in this game?
Well, Poly right now has the ball with 4 minutes and 16 seconds left in the fourth. They're on their own 20, so they have time to score, and they're in good shape, only down 4 points. But it's been a tight one here, and it's been a back and forth, and it'll be very interesting to see how this one plays out.
Boy, we said it coming into the game, too. If you had to pick and choose between any game to go to this week, it definitely would be Poly Olu, but proud to be bringing you this presentation of Bosco football tonight on Spreaker.com's own national sports, as Agoura finally getting something going on the offensive side of the ball. Barmassi completing at that time to his 5'8 receiver, Kevin Adams, and the Chargers, for the first time since the first quarter, are in Brave territory at the Bosco 46.
They're going to hand it off to Sean Barr, who makes a man miss, picks up the first down. We haven't seen a whole lot of... I mean, we see lateral movement out of a man like Sean Barr, and they're going to go to no huddle here. But we haven't seen a lot of success out of an offensive line that just has not pushed the defense back. But a strength for that interior front, being the offensive line for the Chargers, is a man by the name of Brandon Lawrence, only a junior, who's the lone non-senior that's starting for these Chargers. Passes overthrown. Brandon Lawrence, the only offensive lineman starting for these Chargers who is not a senior, in my mind, is the best player on the football team. A run-blocking demon who also can do a decent job in pass protection, along with a number of these offensive linemen that have the same mantra there. A team that can run the football with authority, but Barmassi has faced a lot of pressure all season long because the passing blocking has not been the same.
The delayed handoff here is going to go to Barr, and Barr is going to pick up a first down here for the Agoura Chargers. So the Chargers getting something moving here against the Braves' second-team defense. The starters are resting up on the sidelines for next week's game, and deservingly so after looking somewhat shaky against that Charger offense in the first few minutes or so. They really shored up in the second quarter to make sure Agoura got nothing going on the offensive side of the ball, as this one's incomplete, intended for Sean Barr that time. Agoura's on the St. John Bosco 24. They trail 55-10 with 6:06 here left to go in the third quarter. You want to talk about points? Well, Bosco's put up a lot of points here tonight, but they're still 20 points off of their season high 75 points they put up against Crenshaw back in Week 5.
Talk about such a great offense for the Bosco Braves. They're even having offensive linemen find the end zone. Sean Barr is stuffed for no gain on a 2nd down and 10 carry. We're keeping tabs on Olu and Long Beach Paula, because that's just exactly what we do here on the National Sports Radio Station, which is presented by Tam's Pizzeria. They're located on the corner of Bellflower and Rosecrans. After today's game, make sure to stop by Tam's Pizzeria. They certainly have it all. You can get $2 off any specialty order when you say Braves number 1. Tam's Pizzeria, they have it all.
Tam's Pizzeria, certainly a proud sponsor of ours all season long here on the National Sports Station, an affiliate of Spreaker.com. Barr is stopped for no gain that time. It'll be a 4th and 11 upcoming for the Agoura Chargers, down by 45 points on the road. Time winding down in the third quarter. It looks like Coach Weger's team's going to go for it here. So out of the gun comes the quarterback, Barmasi, who's done a fine job tonight despite the score. He's going to be flushed out to his right. He's going to throw, and he's going to have the pass dropped. That was number 29, Andrew Horton, the intended receiver. And once again, the St. John Bosco Braves will take over on offense. And finally, we see Josh Rosen getting a break. Andrew Katnick, the backup who got the Braves a couple of wins this year when Rosen was injured against Chandler and Loyola, into the game here.
Josh Rosen, I guess you could say he's finally healthy. He was facing some thumb problems and a couple of other arm ailments, and he's able to come back here and create passing consistency that we haven't seen in the last month, ever since he came back from a sore thumb. Andrew Katnick has completed about as good of a percentage as Josh Rosen, has 5 passing touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. He's going to complete another one here and making a man miss. Boy, look at him down the sideline. Who is that?
That's Anselm Ume, the transfer from Mayfair, who is only a sophomore. He figures to be a big component as far as the receiving core goes in the next couple of years for Jason Negro's squad. He gets some playing time here with Andrew Katnick at quarterback. That complete pass got Bosco all the way up to their own 48. It's a 1st and 10 for the Braves. It's Andrew Katnick at the quarterback spot, and it's a 4-receiver set for the Braves. 55-10 Bosco leading Agoura here with 4:10 to go in the third quarter from Bellflower, California. It's a play action. Katnick running around, throws, and it's complete once again to Anselm Ume, who is pushed out of bounds at the 30-yard line. So we're seeing Ume, who figures to be probably the number 2 or 3 receiver on the squad next year, get some playing time here and getting wide open against a defense that hasn't really contained any receiver here tonight. But nonetheless, it's been nice to see Anselm Ume getting catches for the Braves. You want to look at the bottom portion of the field right now. You got Shea Fields wide open. Shea Fields going for the record. He's open in the end zone. Shea Fields catches it. Touchdown Braves. And with 3:52 left to go here in the third quarter, that's a 30-yard touchdown pass. Fields ironically needed 31 to break the record, but with 3:52 left to go in the third quarter, still plenty of time. 61-10, the Braves lead.
The Braves are also itching towards another record, that is scoring more points than they ever had during the regular season at 75. They are just setting records here tonight for these Bosco Braves on a drive that started with a couple of pass completions to a transfer, a man who barely has any time in the starting lineup, but Yume with a couple of catches, kick-starting a drive that's capped off by Shea Fields. A 4-play, 60-yard scoring drive. And for Yume, I mean, we've talked about Shea Fields all night, but for Yume, he is a transfer who's facing an uphill battle being behind a couple of All-Pros, and Shea Fields and Jaleel Wadood. He certainly made his presence felt along with a team in the Poly Orange Lutheran game.
How about this Poly Orange Lutheran game? Under 2 minutes to go. Olu leads 16-12, but Poly has the ball inside the Olu 10, and sure enough, the Jackrabbits have just scored a touchdown to go ahead in that game, 18-16. So if Poly can hang on with 1:44 left to go in the fourth, the Jackrabbits will continue on to try to defend that crown once again here in the Pac-5 playoffs. Boy, what a game down at Veterans Memorial Stadium between the Lancers and the Jackrabbits.
They do a very good job of playing spoilers. A team that was behind for a majority of the second half, coming back and scoring on a touchdown catch. 18-16, it looks like an extra point. That is no good. Wow, only a 2-point differential one more time. As we get back to the Braves and the Chargers.
Budrovic's kick is a high one. It's going to be caught by Goldberg, and he's going to return it, and he will only get to the to the Agoura 17-yard line. A familiar starting spot deep in their own territory for Jack Barmassi, who kind of got it going with the offense against the second-team defense of Bosco on the last drive, but still unable to put points on the board. 62-10 with 3:46 left to go in the third quarter. This can't be fun if you're Agoura.
Well, it's not fun for a crowd that came all the way here from Ventura. They don't have a huge crowd here tonight for the home of the Braves at Frank Bravada Field. Barmassi is right around his average, completing for over 250 yards passing on today's effort, but he hasn't had the same success as once they reach Bosco territory, it's Braves territory, as they just hammer down and create their own stops. Here's Barmassi, another pass completion, and a man that has caught a lot of balls today, that is number 20, Kevin Adams. Good on the reception. No, that was Andrew Horton, but a guy who's caught the ball early and often has been Kevin Adams. I love the man that also plays both ways. It's a lot tougher than it sounds to play defense. He leads his team with 3 INTs, and also with 54 catches, 700 yards, and 6 touchdowns throughout the regular season. He has been a viable force for the Chargers out wide.
Well, that's something that you see in high school that you don't see usually in the NCAA. You rarely see it in the NCAA, and you never see it in the NFL. Players playing both ways on both sides of the ball. And, okay, as a young kid in high school, you know, you got all the blood pumping, you're an athletic guy. I mean, I understand you got the energy to play both ways, but the older you get, the tougher and more physical football becomes as you advance to each level, and that's probably why you don't see it too much at the other levels. But, I mean, with both of these teams, you got to commend the guys that play both ways. You talk about Sean Barr, he plays running back and linebacker. Matthew Goldberg plays receiver and safety. I mean, just a plethora of players in this game. Only for Agoura, you want to talk about Bosco guys that play both ways. Talk about Jaleel Adud, one of the biggest key components of the Braves offense. Nas Manesi plays some linebacker and running back as well. So, I mean, it must be really difficult to go both ways, but you got to be talented and you got to have a lot of stamina to withstand everything that happens on both sides of the ball. And that's why you don't see it too much at the next level, but certainly got to commend the guys that do it here in high school.
Not only that, you got to be good. You got to be able to play both ways awfully well. And I do like Sean Barr because not only does, I mentioned Kevin Adams also make big plays, but Sean Barr leads his team in tackles for loss along with obviously rushing yards and touchdowns. I saw that Chargers roster, and while it may be small, about 50% play both ways in some way or in some shape or form. We're even looking at the quarterback, Barmassi, who plays punter. Boy, how about that? You're not just looking at offense, defense. That's a man who has a powerful arm and a powerful leg punting for this team.
Certainly something you'll see at high school, but something you'll probably not see too much at the next level. Even in junior college, you're probably not going to see something like that happen too much. Barmassi and the Charger offense moving the ball well against this second-team Brave defense here. Under 1:40 to go in the third quarter, Bosco up 62-10 over the Chargers. It's going to be Barmassi going deep, and the pass is going to be caught. Andrew Goldberg dives into the end zone, and he has a touchdown. How about Matthew Goldberg burning the Arizona commit Nigel Hale that time, getting into the end zone, and with 1:27 left to go in the third quarter, the Chargers can finally celebrate about something. They put 6 up on the scoreboard.
A foreign territory there for the Chargers. They find the end zone on a huge pitch and catch. Boy, Matthew Goldberg, he's been a guy that has found the end zone very often for this team. 11 touchdowns during this season. It's a moral victory for Matthew Goldberg and this offense here, as they have drugged up the Bosco Braves more than a number of teams outside of the Trinity League. As they put up, don't let the score lie to you, as it's only 16 points by Agoura, but over 300 yards here for the offense, including Kevin Adams with over half dozen catches, and Matthew Goldberg finding the end zone as well. We have a Trinity score update, and a big one at that for Olu and Long Beach Poly.
We have breaking news from Veterans Memorial Stadium. The Long Beach Poly Jackrabbits will march on to the second round of the CIF Southern Section Pac-5 Divisional Playoffs. Luke Langdon throwing an interception to end the Lancers season 18-16. The final in a hard-fought game down at Veterans Memorial Stadium between the Long Beach Poly Jackrabbits and the Orange Lutheran Lancers. Kind of disappointing because, it's Trinity League. As Bosco people per se, you want to root for the Trinity League and have it sustained as the best league there is in the playoffs. And I mean, the loss to Long Beach Poly, it is Long Beach Poly, it is respectable, but
the offense didn't put up any points in that game. The offense did the D no favors at all, and it looks like they're going to go for the third onside kick, as there is a stoppage of play. Make sure to tune into the post-game show. We're going to have a player of the game for the Bosco Braves, along with updated stats and also updates from around the rest of the Trinity League. It's been a fascinating week for CIF Southern Section playoffs in the Pac-5 division, as we'll move on to the second round. The Bosco Braves will. And this crowd is not happy about the call. They're going to have the Chargers receive the football after an onside kick recovery by Agoura for the second time in 3 attempts. The Chargers get another turnover and are in plus territory here, as the Bosco Braves have to go on defense one more time.
62-17, 125 left to go. Third quarter here from St. John Bosco High School. Other scores from around the CIF Southern Section. It's 28-21 now between Servite and Westlake. The Friars have taken the lead down in Westlake Village. 6:05 left to go, third quarter from that game. Mater Dei still out in front of Oaks Christian 21-7 last we checked. That game on Fox Sports West and the rest of them on Fox Sports Prep Zone. But Adam, boy, tough loss for the Orange Lutheran Lancers. A tough way to end the season, but against a very respectable opponent in the defending CIF Southern Section champion Long Beach Poly Jackrabbits.
Definitely an exciting end to an exciting game. One side was happy and one side definitely wasn't. It was a hard-fought game, and you have to give credit to both sides, but it just came down to the bad throw by Orange Lutheran, and that's what cost them the game.
Well, Luke Langdon, a fantastic senior quarterback in that triple option offense, but not the best passer in the world. It costed Orange Lutheran when it counted the most, and really unfortunate for Coach Peterson and the Lancers as their season has come to a close.
It looks like Sean Barr is going to take the end around and pick up about 3 yards, as he's nearing our over-under of 125 on the day. Orange Lutheran is not a team that's going to pass it all up and down the field. And when at halftime they were trailing 6-0, and the offense didn't really get anything going in the first half, we saw the Bosco Braves host these Orange Lutheran Lancers early in the year. They're such a limited offense, which really puts a handicap on that defensive front, as you can't make plays because you're constantly forced to defend your own end zone on short fields, as Barmas is able to complete to Andrew Horton on a nice pass completion for a first down. The Orange Lutheran Lancers, boy, when you're put in a tough spot constantly on defense because you can't throw the football, it puts a huge burden on this team, because then when the offense isn't producing any points, you have far less opportunities than say, a team that can have offensive production, where as a defense you can pin your ears back and try and force a turnover. When you're constantly being backed up to your own end, as a defense, it's very hard to create turnovers because the opposing team is consistently running the football because they're always in your own end. For the Orange Lutheran Lancers, in my mind, and you can look at this to go into next season for the Lancers, there were just one player away, and that's the quarterback position. When even at the smallest of levels, you got to be good playing quarterback. I have experience playing also not only in high school but also in the prior leagues as well. If you don't have the quarterback, you're not going to win. As simple as that.
The quarterback certainly makes each and every offense, and unfortunately for Orange Lutheran, it costed them today as Agoura has the ball here at the St. John Bosco 35, run to Sean Barr, and it's a gain of 1, and that will be the final play of the third quarter. Bosco up big, 62-17 over the Agoura Chargers. Come back for the fourth quarter, the final quarter of action from round 1 of the CIF Southern Section Pac 5 Divisional Playoffs, presented by High School Scoreboard and Tam's Pizzeria.
Watch it say what up, though, when you see me in the street. Good music in this, I drop that beat. Now this to all of my enemies that see me getting guap right now. See me getting guap right now. See me getting.
Catch every game of the St. John Bosco season with our Twitter handle at St. John Bosco. It's SJB Broadcast. Again, SJB and the word broadcast. Also, make sure to tune into the post-game shows. We'll interview the player of the game along with the highlights and analysis of tonight's contest. Now back to the guys. Nick Rice, Adam Ferrister, and your host Chris Sylvester with a call from National Sports, an affiliate of Spreaker.com.
Start of the fourth quarter from Bellflower, California, 62-17. The Braves lead the Agoura Chargers here in round 1 of the CIF Southern Section Pac 5 Divisional Playoffs. It'll be a 3rd and 10 here for Agoura, and Barmasi's going to complete the pass to his wide receiver, his favorite wide receiver, Kevin Adams, who comes up with his 14th reception on the night. That'll be good enough for an Agoura score, as the referee has to tell the band to be quiet here as we begin play in the fourth quarter. Adam, second time this year we've seen the referee in not such a tightly contested ball game. Remember in the Crenshaw game, the referee had to stop play to tell the Crenshaw's band to be quiet. This time it's St. John Bosco's band with a little bit of a gaffe.
Yeah, I do remember that. They were doing it the whole game too, and it just seemed like at one point the referee had enough and no longer wanted to hear the band during play.
That's something you just can't do. Can't play music while the game's going on. In between quarters, great to listen to the band. It's always fun listening to prep bands and pep bands and whatever you want to call them, high school bands, college bands. It's the one thing that you miss when you get to the NFL, I guess. No bands.
No bands. And one thing that the Chargers are going to miss is a winning feeling as they're going to go into the off season here, as they do have a young quarterback up and coming for those Agoura Chargers, along with a couple of key returners. We're talking about Harrison Wong, who's also a very fine corner in and of itself. He's a little bit limited, being at only standing at 5'8" and a generous 160 pounds. We're talking about a junior by the name of Tommy Woodruff, who's also a very solid defensive lineman in and of his own right. It's just the defense as a whole has not helped Woodruff at all. Looks like they're going to go to another pass, and yet again more pressure. They're going to end up running it for a gain of 5. But Barmasi has faced so much pressure, Chris, throughout the entire game. Sure, you can credit Bosco some, but that offensive line certainly has to be the key of improvement, whether through transfers or through just making the offensive line the emphasis for the coaching here in the offseason.
Well, certainly it's going to be tough for Coach Weger to replace his star quarterback, Jack Barmasi, but I mean, it's just a good core unit here for the Agoura Chargers. I mean, Sean Barr, he's going to depart as well, and I mean it's going to be tough rebuilding, as we have a first down here for Agoura inside the St. John Bosco 15. It's going to be tough rebuilding for Coach Weger, but when you're in the Miramonte League, I mean, it's it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult because you got teams like Oaks Christian, Westlake Village, St. Bonaventure, so many teams to compete against. But I mean, Agoura did it with somewhat of a depleted group here. They don't have the biggest roster in the world. Don't have the biggest, football program in the world. But I mean, they made it work. They got to the CIF Pac-5 Division playoffs, and that's certainly a win for this football program. And I think going forward, you can only build positively. I know it's 62-17, under 9 minutes to go here in the fourth quarter with the Braves out in front, but you got to take away from this season. You can't leave this as the highlight of your season. You can't leave this as the last memory you have of this season. You got to look back at the great times, look back at the times where you got that playoff berth, as Barmasi will be sacked here back at the 10-yard line, and it'll be 3rd and 10 upcoming for Agoura. But Agoura, that's a good area as well. Up in Ventura, you get a lot of good players have come out of Ventura in the past to go play at the Division I level. I think Agoura, in the next couple of years, maybe not next year, they lose a lot, but maybe in the next couple of years, they'll be back here in the CIF Pac-5 playoffs.
Important football is being played not only here at Bosco, but also for the Agoura Chargers. Looks like Barmasi finds the end zone one more time. I'm going to love seeing Barmasi play at the next level. 3 passing touchdowns and no interceptions. I compared him to a guy like Drew Brees because he's just so accurate with the football and doesn't turn it over. I mean, you could call it Drew Brees, but I also love the running ability of this man as well. He can certainly scamper and find the end zone, as he's been a viable portion of that running game too, scoring 4 rushing touchdowns. How about that for a quarterback? And you mentioned there is a lot of guys partying. The quarterback and the running back are no longer going to be there, who I believe are the 2 top guys on that offense. Also, Kevin Adams, who I could argue is player number 3. But I can also make a case for a guy like Brandon Lawrence, a man that has helped Sean Barr become the player that he is, because he's helped for any problems that the Chargers have had on that offensive line. The one mainstay has been Brandon Lawrence, the center, who's just such a great portion of that offensive line. And Chris, your thoughts about how an offensive lineman can impact an offense?
Well, I mean, you look at the St. John Bosco Braves for prime example. They arguably have the best offensive line in the state. You bring guys out there, future Division I players like Zach Robertson and Damian Mamo, who's one of the most highly touted offensive linemen in the nation. And you saw, I mean, Sean
touchdowns.
Exactly.
They can score touchdowns.
Exactly. Sean McGrew stands at what, 5'6", 180? Something like that, as Agoura is going to go for another onside kick, and it's going to be recovered by St. John Bosco. I do believe there's going to be more confusion here after the play, and sure enough, it'll be St. John Bosco football, I do believe. But you want to talk about offensive linemen really making an impact for an offense.
No one really talks about
it. They're the silent heroes. That's what Damian Mama calls them. He's an offensive lineman. He's a silent hero. All those big Sean McGrew runs this year, not to take anything away from the sophomore stud, but that offensive line opens big holes for Sean McGrew, and it's all Sean McGrew when he gets to the second level. But you think of 5'5" white running, you think of 5'5" running back like Sean McGrew wearing the white. You talk about wearing the white against Santa Margarita. You think of 5'5" running back Sean McGrew is really going to bust over big defensive linemen.
Certainly, this is one of the better offensive lines we're going to see in the state of California, as they can struggle occasionally against the pass, against elite pass rushers. We saw Malik McNorris beat this offensive line when Orange Lutheran played. They had their struggles against the pass, but when it comes to running the football, in my mind, I don't think there's any better of a blocking unit than those Bosco Braves, as we saw both Anesi and Sean McGrew. I mean, not to take away from those running backs like you said, but at the end of the day, this offensive line is very, very good. And 3rd straight catch for another man who's making a big impact.
It's Anselm Ume down the sidelines, and he's into the end zone for another Bosco score. His first touchdown as a member of the St. John Bosco Braves at the varsity level. And with 6:14 left to go here in the fourth quarter, tack on another score for the Braves. It's 68-24. How about the sophomore Ume showing great potential here in the second half while he gets some playing time?
This is very good looking at this for the Braves in the future, seeing how they already have running backs who will help out in the near future, and now they have a receiver who's a sophomore that can make great plays.
So how about Ume? Slick moves on a screen pass down the sidelines. A little bit reminiscent of Jaleel Wadoud, dare I say?
Boy, absolutely. And you're talking about a man standing at 5'10", 173 pounds, and also another resemblance to Shea Fields, a guy who's a little bit small as far as stature, but it surprises you so much, it's surprising me anyways, that they just reel in so many athletic receivers year in and year out. Jaleel Wadoud, in Jason Negro's mind, the fastest, most versatile player he's ever coached, and he's been around for over a decade for the Bosco Braves. Not for the Bosco Braves as the head coach, but has been coaching for a very long time. And, sheesh, 69-24 in favor of the Braves. They have so many electric receivers that can make big plays. And at the end of the day, high school sports is going to be won and lost by big plays. And the Bosco Braves may perhaps do it better than anyone else in the state.
I just want to touch up on that offensive lineman thing real quick about the silent heroes. I going back and there's a reason while on the it seems like on the road Sean McGrew's done a little bit better than at home, but it really appeared to me the first game of the season when Bosco went to Saddleback College and defeated the Santa Margarita Eagles 56-12. You know, there was one reason why all we saw was that white jersey of Sean McGrew. All you saw was the back of it. All you saw was the back of Manesse Anesi's white jersey. All you saw was the back of those white jerseys just running down the field. And, not to take anything away once again from the running backs, but that's all the offensive line. It's really all the offensive line. With a poor offensive line, you're looking at maybe a 300, 400-yard season for Sean McGrew. Not nearly the success that Bosco's been having on the ground, and that's key. That's really the offensive linemen just go so unnoticed, and it's really unfortunate that they do. And sometimes, as an offensive lineman, you find yourself having. I mean, you're always having fun out there, but as a not playing football from up here, you kind of look down and say, offensive line. That kind of seems like a boring position to play, but in reality, a lot of the times. If there is no offensive, what happens if there is no offensive line? Quarterback gets sacked every time. I mean, there's a reason why there's an offensive line out there, and to have such a premier offensive line like St. John Bosco is just an added extra. I mean, you see Agoura tonight with a very small offensive line. Not to take anything away from the linemen on Agoura's talents, but there's a reason why the Bosco defensive line has gotten to the Agoura quarterback multiple times here tonight. There's a reason why Sean Barr isn't getting the usual yards that he usually does on the ground. It's all because of the offensive line play. Offensive line play often alters what team wins the game in the end, and that's why it's so key to have a fantastic offensive line. You want to talk about fantastic offensive lines? The Trinity League is the place to find them.
Not only that, but the Bosco Braves, I mean, Damian Mama is entertaining D1 scholarships. A majority of the rest of this offensive front is doing the same as well. We want to give props to Elijah Zubladov and Emery Sefe, who's not only found the end zone on the ground, but also helped seal the holes on Sean McGrew's first touchdown, as not only Sefe, but also Zach Robertson also being able to find that huge run-blocking success in the first half, and it has helped springboard this offense to scoring 69 points. Again, Braves up 69-24.
It's crazy. 4:22 left to go here in the fourth quarter. 69 points isn't even the season high for St. John Bosco. Like I said, they put up 75 about 5 or 6 weeks ago when Crenshaw came into town. getting you caught up on score updates around the Pac-5 playoffs. Tesoro was victorious over Cabrillo, so it is official. Tesoro, for the second consecutive season, will come into Bellflower to face the St. John Bosco Braves, this time in the second round. Tesoro fresh off of a big victory against Caitlin Price and the Cabrillo Jaguars, whose season comes to a close. 42-21 Servite leading Westlake right now. Looks like the Friars are going to move on against what was supposed to be the 1 seed versus the 3 seed of the Murray Monte League. Mater Dei continues to lead Oaks Christian down there. And it is official. Of course, we mentioned earlier, Poly beat Olu. St. Bonaventure defeating Notre Dame Sherman Oaks. That'll set up for a very intriguing second-round matchup between St. Bonnie's and the Long Beach Poly Jackrabbits.
Not only that, but do you have any... Can you give the crowd any sort of insight on Tesoro's? We're going to face them coming up next week.
I can't really give you too much insight on Tesoro right now. Haven't really looked ahead. Neither should the St. John Bosco Braves. And you talk to each and every one of these individuals this week around campus. You know, they're not looking ahead. They're not looking past the bracket. They're not looking down towards the later parts of the playoffs. Their mindset was on Agoura, and it clearly shows tonight. They're up 69-24 as we speak, with under 3 minutes to go here in the fourth quarter. But I mean, one thing I remember from Tesoro last year: very physical ball club. Very physical ball club. They'll travel out a fantastic crowd next week, as you would expect. Tesoro has a proud history as far as a high school football program goes. And, you know, it's going to be tough for St. John Bosco. It's probably another game that the Braves should come out victorious on, but it's going to be a battle next week against a Tesoro team that almost knocked off the Braves last season.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be fun to watch next week. Brenner Marsh is checking into the game for the Chargers at quarterback. I mentioned last season for the JV squad, he was also third in his league at passing the football over 1,700 yards, able to find his way onto the field here. I'm going to love seeing my man, number 8 for the Bosco Braves, for the Agoura Chargers, But Brenner Marsh, take a look at him. He's also a guy who's going to come back next year for these Chargers and make some plays, not only at DB, but if they can't find, the Chargers a quarterback. Let's go to Brenner Marsh and try and see if they can make some plays at the next level. Crowd is getting beyond angst here as Ivan Martinez gets crackbacked by an Agoura offensive lineman. Crowd, for the very first time, is seeing a Bosco Brave on his back with under 2 minutes to go, with the Braves on their way to another win.
Boy, you talk about Brenner Marsh entering the game for the first time tonight. He's a junior quarterback. He figures to be the starter next year for the Chargers. How about we see the Chargers once again here in the Pac-5 playoffs next year? He wears number 2.
Yeah.
He is Johnny Manziel.
No, he's not.
Look at him. He's running around the field like Johnny Football would.
Oh, man.
This guy reminds me of Johnny Manziel. Adam, you see it, right? You see a little bit of Manziel in Brenner Marsh.
He's like Manziel, but not as good.
Okay, well, is anybody on the planet better than Johnny Manziel right now?
Yes. Excuse you. This man can't even get his off the field problems fixed. And just like Johnny Manziel, Brenner Marsh, who's going to ramble out of the pocket for only the 1,000th time and throw behind his intended receiver. Wow. How about Johnny Manziel there? But Manziel is so small that at the next level, he's just not going to make the same plays. He reminds me of Robert Griffin, where everyone has so much hype on him as a rookie, being the next. He's the rookie of the year. He's better than Russell Wilson and Andrew Luck. This guy you can't be this small playing quarterback and run out of the pocket every time. Yet again, he's escaping. He's going to look for the end zone, and is the pass caught? It's a leaping grab, and it's incomplete. Looks like the Bosco Braves are on their way to the next round of the playoffs. Wow.
The clock to 0, and the St. John Bosco Braves, for the second consecutive season, will move on to the second round of the CIF Southern Section Pac-5 Divisional Playoffs with a blowout win in their first playoff matchup tonight against the Agoura Chargers. The final score, Bosco 69, Agoura 24. A fantastic effort on both sides of the ball for St. John Bosco here tonight. But for Agoura, certainly you don't want to go into the offseason with this the first thing on your mind. You got to put this in the back of your mind and say, hey, we finished second in a very competitive Miramonte West Division this year. We finished 4th overall in that league, and we got ourselves to the point where we made the Pac-5 playoffs, one of the toughest divisions, if not the toughest division in the state of California. Hats off to Coach Charlie Wager and the Agoura.
Oh, I'm sure it will. The lights are out here, along with the electricity at St. John Bosco, Frank Rabada Field. Lights have also been out for the Chargers ever since the first quarter when they were down 14-10 and could not come back from that Bosco wave of points. It's been a crisp and cool night, and it's turning into a bitter cold for those Agoura.
Back here at St. John Bosco High School, we have technical difficulties. The electricity completely out here at St. John Bosco High School. We apologize for that. The lights went out right after the game. I don't know if that had to do with